everyone. Welcome to eclipse season. Welcome to your September monthly horoscope. So this is the first time that I am officially testing out the visual software. So if you're listening, you obviously can see that there will be visuals. I will go through the chart so that hopefully this information is more digestible to you and it's easy to maybe overlap with your own natal chart. One thing I want to briefly discuss in the intro is that eclipses are part of sort of like a family. And the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th this month is part of Saros series 128. So if you are watching on the screen, you can see right here, September 7th, 2025, we have this total lunar eclipse in Pisces. But it's actually part of this family that birthed all of these previous eclipses. So if you're intermediate to advanced or you're not overwhelmed by astrology, I would invite you to sort of, these links are in the description below so you can easily pull this up and go back to 2007. See what was going on in this eclipse chart. Are there any overlap points with your natal chart that could provide you more clues? Obviously, I will pull up the one on September 7th for you, but you can go back and maybe get additional clues as to what was going on around that time. If you are new to astrology and you find this overwhelming, all I want you to do is think back to 2007 or 1989 or 1971, depending on how old you are, and think about some of the themes, some of the situations that are playing out that might be coming back around, that might be sort of manifesting or having similar themes playing out this year. But as always, take what resonates, leave the rest. I've also provided in the description below the Saros series 154 for the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st this month. So you can see here, September 21st, 2025, and you can go back to these eclipse charts as well. That might provide you additional clues as to these cycles or sort of what these series of eclipses are manifesting in your life. Now, as always, this is not conclusive. I really only want you guys to take what resonates, leave the rest. I do not have your natal chart, so this is not conclusive by any means. I will be discussing some other things going on this month, particularly Saturn retrograding into Pisces, and I can give you some dates and some times to think back on that, and how these eclipses this month really differ from that last Pisces eclipse in September. I believe September of 2024. So rulerships are a little bit different this time. Again, I'm so happy to be launching the software, providing you guys that visual. So it's easier to see, it's easier to describe. Hopefully you guys like it. Definitely let me know in the comments what you think, some suggestions, any feedback along those lines. Anyways, let's get into eclipse season. Hello, Aries Risings. All right, so September 1st, we are kicking off the month with Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces 12th house. 12th house of subconscious thought patterns, more of the hidden aspects of yourself, dreams, those things that we don't publicly advertise. So Saturn's already traversed this area. And so with Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces 12th house, what are you potentially coming back to that Saturn originally brought up or brought into your consciousness in maybe April or May of 2025. So Saturn is going back over the degrees that it originally went over in roughly April, May of 2025. Now, Saturn, this guy here, rules your 10th house of career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment, as well as your Aquarius 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. So social network, goals, dreams, aspirations. So definitely think back to April, May of 2025 and what you're coming back to with a new perspective around your long-term goals, around your social network, who you surround yourselves with. And because it's going through the 12th house, I would say, what are you untangling? What are you revisiting in solitude or just in private, mentally by yourself, regarding your career, regarding your goals, people, your social network, people you surround yourselves with, that you are now having maybe a new perspective on. Now, I'm not going to get too much in the weeds here in terms of details, but I do want to point out that Saturn backing up into Pisces, it will immediately square this moon very briefly. The moon moves very quickly on September 1st, but this going back into Pisces, there could be an emotional shift, not only mentally or subconsciously, but also to your growth and potential, your knowledge, anything that you consider growth and potential. So there might be some shift or very brief action that you're changing around your growth and potential. Maybe it's career, the things that bring you fulfillment, or the people you need to surround yourself with in order to align to those long-term goals. Regardless, I think Saturn is giving you the opportunity to perfect, strengthen, untangle a little bit more anything that you've been working on, particularly around April, May of 2025, if that resonates. Now let's get to the juicy bits on September 7th. So September 7th, there will be this full moon in Pisces. Let me get this exact down to the hour here. I might not be able to with the software, but so because I need the hour marker at Aries Risings for you guys, this full moon lunar eclipse is at 15 degrees. So ignore this. So this full moon lunar eclipse, it's at 15 degrees with the ruler, Jupiter, in your Cancer 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. Now, this Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. The last eclipse in 2024 in Pisces, Jupiter was in detriment. So I think this is helping. This is also, look at this, trine the North Node. What you want to move towards, what you're focusing on, what you're hungry for, with the alignment that you want. In that 12th house of the subconscious, your dreams. I like to think of the 12th house as our inner life vision that we haven't quite made tangible. And so this full moon lunar eclipse is really illuminating your inner world, your mental thought patterns. And it is trine its ruler, who's very happy and very well resourced, in this 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So this is helpful. Trines dissolve obstacles. So this tells me that maybe there is some expansion, abundance going on with family, with home, property, real estate, relocation, renovation. And this could be a wonderful invitation to clear out the home, get grounded. What home environment do you need to create more expansion and abundance in your life? Also with Jupiter ruling the ninth house. What home environment do you need to create optimal growth and potential in your life, especially when we get into 2026 and 2027? So this full moon lunar eclipse can sort of culminate something, illuminate something where you could potentially be releasing something that you're finishing, no longer serves you, no longer serves your inner life vision, no longer serves the home environment, the foundation of your life that really fully supports that vision that you want to make a tangible reality, and also that growth and potential. Now let's move to September 13th when Mercury is Cassimi. So September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi. It's not going to let me. Close enough. So again, don't pay attention to the minutes. But September 13th, we're going to have this Mercury Cassimi. Mercury is going to be in the heart of the sun shortly after this full moon eclipse. Now, the Mercury Cassimi is, over the many years that I've been doing this, people note or feel a sense of clarity around a particular thing that they've been thinking about or working out. And now for you, Mercury rules your sixth house of daily work, health, and routines. It also rules your third house of communication, technology, professionally or personally, siblings, extended family, really those people, places, and things within your immediate environment. So this Mercury Cassimi, I think, is heavily involving your daily work and health routines, maybe clarity around how you can create an optimal environment for that, optimal routines for that, and also what immediate environment, what immediate surroundings, communication, any of those mundane tasks, appointments, etc., that can help create a better routine, better work environment. So look for clarity around a health situation, a work situation, communication, technology, or maybe even something playing out with siblings or extended family. The good news with this is that this Mercury Cassimi, this Mercury is not only in rulership in your Virgo 6th house, it is also exalted in your Virgo 6th house. So this is a very powerful, in the heart of the sun, Cassimi. So I think this has optimal potential for clarity around those situations if any of those themes really are being amplified in your life. I also think that this is setting up the stage for the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo happening in your 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. So let's get to the 17th, September 17th. We have Mercury will be opposite Saturn. So this is between your 6th and your 12th. I like to call this the mind-body axis. And so Mercury's been Cassimi. There's some clarity, some maybe aha moment. Mercury's been revived at this point. For you, it's ruling the health, the work, communication, technology, immediate environment type of things. And it's opposite Saturn in your 12th. So this tells me that maybe when you get to September 16th, September 17th, you might feel the opposition between the clarity that you have or what you're trying to obtain and do versus maybe mental restriction. So as you get into mid-September, I would be aware of any mental restriction that you're feeling or that could be warranted or could be self-inflicted. Either way, definitely look for ways that you can balance your need for rest, solitude, processing, digesting mentally versus taking action, doing the work, health, routine, day-to-day stuff. So again, good news, Mercury moves quickly. And so this, in my opinion, will be brief. But I think it's worth noting this opposition taking place where you might feel some tension. You might feel like you want to do two things at once between what's going on mentally and the work and or health situation that you want to take care of right away. So with oppositions, in my opinion, it's best to take care of what's going on mentally and then shelf that, and then take care of the work and or health situation and sort of tend to both. You can have it all. Then when we get to September 21st, September 21st is the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. It is at 29 degrees, but I need to get this to you Aries risings. Okay, so it's not going to let me. So basically, this new moon solar eclipse, it's at 29 degrees, anaretic degree, sense of urgency. It wants to push into Libra. And so this new moon solar eclipse, it technically is still opposite Saturn. So there is, you're sort of, I think as you get deeper into September, things could be culminating around really wanting to start a new chapter around your health, really wanting to start a new chapter around a work situation, or, it could be work and or health routines as well. So some of you might be really wanting to tend to, the work and health situation and getting that started. Maybe some of you are over a health situation. You're so sick of dealing with it. Or maybe you're really wanting to launch your work or launch, projects, whatever it may be. It's opposite that Saturn in your 12th. So there's some sort of mental restriction going on with your work, with the things that bring you fulfillment. Maybe there's mental restriction coming from, your social network or your long-term goals. Either way, oppositions don't mean we're doomed. It just means we feel like we want to open the front and back door at the same time. And we have to walk over and take care of the front door and then walk over and take care of the back door. So I would say going into eclipse season, especially the deeper you go into September, if you're feeling that mental restriction or restriction regarding, maybe it's a health situation that you really want to take care of and you really want to dive into and move forward with, but you have all this work to do. You have your career, you have your business, you have your goals. So some of you might be feeling like you're pulled in two different directions or you're burning the candle at both ends. So I would say going into September, be really aware. If it resonates, be very aware of burnout, because this opposition with the eclipses, I think, could, between the mind and the body axis in your chart, I think it's important to have, Saturn likes discipline. And with it being in the 12th house, this is a great time to, I think going into September, I would say, great time to be disciplined around your sleep schedule, disciplined around, if you go to therapy, if getting your schedule, taking care of those mental health needs, providing yourself, even if it's for a few minutes in the shower or in the bathroom, to mentally process, to take care of, check in mentally. What's going on with you? Where do you feel restricted around your goals or who you surround yourself with or your career, your public recognition, the things that bring you fulfillment versus those day-to-day routines that you really want to take care of, right? It's sort of like you got this busy stuff going on, but then you have this whole other world going on behind the scenes in your mind. And there can be friction between those two. So making sure that you go in and compartmentalizing, okay, this is the time, this is my sleep schedule, These are my routines. This is when I'm going to take care of what's going on mentally and process that. And then when it's time to, take care of my health or go to appointments or do the work stuff and deal with colleagues, I'm going to deal with that. So I think September is a good time for Aries risings to get a little bit more compartmentalized and organized so that you can have the best of both worlds and you can balance these two. I really want to end the month on September 22nd. When Mars enters your Scorpio 8th house. Now, I like a Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Scorpio is precise. It's accurate. Mars is your ruling planet. Mars rules your first house of the physical body, the self, the identity, how you want to show up in the world. And with it being in this Scorpio 8th house, I think some of you can get a little bit more precise on the transformational work, those big decisions you need to make, any long-term financial plans, management, resources, in a way that's more precise, that's more accurate, that feels maybe more organized, and most importantly, because Mars rules your first house of the self and the physical body, in a way where it supports you. What decisions do you, as you're closing September, after these eclipses happen, I think for Aries rising, you could close out September, be going into October with decisions or some transformational work, or maybe for some of you, it's more financial, that you can get to the bottom of, you can really figure out. A Mars in Scorpio, where most people think it can't be done or we can't figure it out, a Mars in Scorpio is going to figure it out when no one else can or no one else really wants to. And so I think this is going to close out the month helping, maybe putting these eclipses into perspective, taking action. This is a very well resourced. It's in rulership in Mars, taking action around the core motivations and desires regarding the transformational work, making those choices and those decisions that are really going to support your physical body, yourself, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to move through the world. And also any long-term financial plans, resources, anything along those lines that could be playing into the situation that's playing out in September and eclipse season. Hello, Taurus Risings. All right, so we're kicking off the month on September 1st when Saturn, this guy here, backs up. It retrogrades back into your Pisces 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. So this Saturn retrograde is really going to go over by degree the territory that it originally went over in roughly April, May of 2025. So you could be revisiting something regarding your long-term goals, your social network that you were that was coming into your consciousness, or you were strengthening or working with back in April, May 2025. But more specifically, Saturn rules your Aquarius 10th house of career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment, as well as your Capricorn 9th house of growth and potential. So publishing, teaching, traveling, spirituality, higher education, really any of those areas that you consider growth and potential in your life. And so with Saturn ruling growth and potential, career, the things that bring you fulfillment, this could also be tying in the additional themes of sort of reviewing and revising your long-term goals or social network pertaining to your career, growth, potential, or the things that bring you fulfillment. So you could be sort of taking a new perspective, going maybe untangling, perfecting, strengthening those areas that maybe you were originally moving forward with. in April, May of 2025, if that resonates. Regardless, I think this could generally just bring back a revisionary period around what you really want to do long term regarding your career or the growth and potential in your lives, especially in the area of social network and long-term goals. Now, let's move to September 7th when we get into the eclipses. So September 7th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse. I'm not going to change the hours on this because the hour marker of Taurus will change, but you can get a general feel for this visually. So this full moon lunar eclipse is actually at 15 degrees in Pisces. So this is a full moon, supercharged full moon at 15 degrees, really illuminating your 11th house of your social network, your long-term goals, your dreams, your aspirations. So you might see something that you didn't see before, or maybe you are closing something out regarding a goal or a dream. This could also be a busy time socially. Some of you might be socializing more, sort of culminating, focusing, illuminating your social network. So, the ruler of this full moon lunar eclipse is Jupiter. And Jupiter is exalted in your Cancer third house of communication, technology, whether that's personal or professional, siblings, extended family. Again, third house, I like to think of it as the people, places, and things that are in your everyday immediate environment. And with Jupiter in its place of exaltation, I think this is a good thing. This is helping this full moon lunar eclipse, because if the ruler or the landlord of this eclipse is exalted, it's very well resourced, and it is trine, dissolving obstacles to the North Node in that 11th house, something could be helpful. There could be resources. There could be help, resources, expansion coming from people in your neighborhood, your community, communication, technology, that could be helping dissolve the obstacles to your long-term goals or increasing your social network where, sometimes it's not what we know, it's who we know in terms of how we can expand and move. So overall, I like this compared to the last Pisces eclipse in 2024, where the ruler, Jupiter, was in detriment. So I think this time there is a lot of help with this eclipse, helping you maybe look at your immediate environment. What tools do you have? What resources do you have? People, places, and things within that immediate environment that could really help dissolve the obstacles to the social network, the long-term goals, the dreams, the aspirations. As maybe some of you are with the Saturn retrograde, reviewing your career, your business, your public recognition, or growth and potential regarding those things. So let's go to September 13th when Mercury finally becomes Cassimi. So again, I'm not going to change the hours on this, but Mercury will be Cassimi at 22 degrees. So the Sun and Mercury will be Cassimi at 22 degrees on September 13th. And so with Mercury Cassimi, a lot of people report it's these few hours in the day where we get clarity. There is this sort of, I always, when I experience a Mercury Cassimi, especially in rulership and exaltation, it feels peaceful. It feels like these few hours in the day where I can get this moment of clarity around moving forward around a particular situation. Now for you, Taurus risings, Mercury rules not only this fifth house and is exalted here, very, very strong, well-resourced Mercury here, really tying in creativity, self-expression, children, if applicable. Really, the fifth house is the things that bring you joy. And Mercury also rules this Gemini second house of earned income and self-worth. So there could be a lot of clarity around your value, your innate gifts and talents, how you can monetize that for some of you. So this could be a really great time to get clarity around your creativity, your self-expression, your innate gifts and talents. And maybe for some of you, it's a budget situation. And for some of you, maybe it's really coming up with ideas or creative ideas that you can monetize, that you can earn income from. So I'm looking forward to a Mercury Cassini in the heart of the sun, in rulership and exalted. And for you, really tying in the themes of joy, creativity, and money, which we all love. Then on September 21st, that is the second eclipse we get this month, where, again, this new moon will be at 29 degrees of Virgo. So this new moon solar eclipse will be at the anaretic degree, that last degree before it wants to bump into Libra. So this new moon solar eclipse in your fifth house of joy, creativity, self-expression, romance, children, if applicable, this is potentially a new chapter around the things that bring you joy. Maybe some of you on a very basic level could be stepping into just saying, you know what? I want to have more fun in my life. I want more pleasure. I want more joy. And it could also be a new creative project that you are launching that could unfold over the next 6 months. It, for some of you, could be sudden because this is an eclipse. But I want you to pay attention to this new moon solar eclipse opposing this Saturn in your 11th house of your social network and your long-term goals. This new moon solar eclipse is not only at the anaretic degree, so there could be this sense of urgency around a situation with your children, if applicable, a creative project, your self-expression, just really wanting more joy and self-expression in your life. But because it's opposite Saturn in your 11th house, you could feel some restriction from your goals. You could feel some restriction from your social network. Or because Saturn rules your 9th and your 10th, some of you might feel the weight, the burden, or the restriction and, the discipline around your work, your career, your public recognition, or any growth and potential themes that you're experiencing. Now, because Saturn rules your 9th house, which is higher education, some of you in college might be, experiencing midterms or just a really more amplified version of test taking or responsibility with your academics. And that's really getting in the way of this 5th house, which you really want to have fun. You really want to kind of step into a new chapter, maybe romantically or just playing, having more fun. But either way, we're going into, the deeper you get into September, you could really feel this charge around wanting more joy, wanting more play, wanting more creativity and self-expression, but having to balance that with the responsibility involving the growth and potential, the career, the public recognition, or the things that bring you fulfillment. So this new moon, I think, is juicy, but I think it is definitely going to require, in order for us to step into this new chapter around, for you, involving joy, creativity, maybe situations with children, childcare, planning for children, if applicable. It's really, Saturn's asking you to not only review and revise your long-term goals, your dreams, and your aspirations, but also balance the joy, the play, the fun with still taking time to untangle or strengthen those long-term goals. So some of you might be feeling like, man, I I really want to achieve these goals and I really want to focus on my work and maybe find more work or find more growth and potential. But this other part of you might be feeling like, I really just want to be creative and I want to have fun and I want to play and I want to be in joy. And so I would say going into September, it could be a good time to get clear on those creative projects, get clear on any themes involving children, get clear on any romantic situations, or really any of the things that bring you joy personally, so that you can compartmentalize or work with Saturn in that opposite house around, okay, how can I incorporate fun, joy, but also achieve my long-term goals and my growth and potential. So I think this is a good perspective to go into in September with these eclipses that could shake up some of these areas. But I really want to end the month on September 22nd when Mars enters its place of rulership in your 7th house of partnership. This could be personal or professional partnership. So I like a Mars in Scorpio. This is a very well-resourced Mars. Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. Where you might feel something is impossible or typically wouldn't want to work out or figure out, a Mars in Scorpio will figure it out. And with Mars also ruling your 12th house of your subconscious thought patterns, this could be a good time to maybe go to those closest loved ones, go to those trusted partnerships in your life to work out whatever you're trying to work out. And I think for a lot of Taurus risings, this could be like, how do I work out my creative projects or incorporating more fun and joy in my life or time with my children, but also expand my social network or achieve my long-term goals. And so that Mars in the Scorpio 7th house, I think could attract or provide you those people that can really mirror back the information, the precision and the accuracy around those deeper thoughts, those deeper mental thought patterns around your core motivations and desires. So I would say closing out September, going into October, this could be, again, take what resonates, leave the rest. But I think this could be a wonderful time to seek those trusted loved ones in a way where you can converse, you can sort of have things mirrored back to you, where these individuals could potentially help you get to the bottom of your core motivations and desires that might help you balance how to have joy and pleasure and creativity and self-expression and also achieve those long-term goals. Hello, Gemini Risings. So starting off the month, September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces 10th house of career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment. So depending on what time zone you're in, Saturn on September 1st or September 2nd is going to make its way back into this 10th house area. Now, Saturn has already gone over this territory in your 10th house of career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment. So if we're looking at the degrees of Saturn here and where it's going to station direct, Saturn retrograding back into this area could be bringing back anything that was playing out maybe around April, May of 2025, roughly, if that resonates. So you could be having an entirely new perspective around this situation. You could be reviewing and revising this situation. You could also be strengthening, perfecting. Now, Saturn rules your 9th house of growth and potential and your Capricorn 8th house of transformation, long-term financial stuff, management, also resources. So whatever was going on financially, resource-wise, anything to do with that you're pursuing for growth and potential, you could be sort of revisiting, strengthening, sort of working with, having a new perspective now over the next couple months that could definitely have anything to do with the things that bring you fulfillment, but especially career, business, public recognition. So once we get to September 7th, we have the first eclipse this month. September 7th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. This is actually supposed to be at 15 degrees, but I'm not going to change the hour because it will change this Gemini rising, the hour marker here. So this full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees will also be in your 10th house of career, public recognition, or the things that bring you fulfillment. So there's definitely a lot of 10th house themes, illuminating, building, but also revisiting at the same time as we go into September. So the good news with this full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees is that the ruler of this eclipse, Jupiter, is in your second house of earned income and self-worth, and also in its place of exaltation. So the last eclipse that took place in Pisces, I believe was, excuse me, I think it was in September of 2024. And the ruler of that eclipse, Jupiter, like this one, was in detriment. And so this makes me hopeful for a lot of Gemini risings regarding finances, self-worth, value, and potentially being able to dissolve any obstacles to the expansion you want to take with your career, the things that bring you fulfillment, and even public recognition. So September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi. Excuse me, I am starting to lose my voice. So we have this Mercury Cassimi. Mercury will be in the heart of the sun on September 13th. And this will be happening in your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So there could be clarity, an aha moment, a sense of knowing regarding any home, family situation, property, or real estate that maybe for some of you has been playing out for some time. Now, Mercury is your ruling planet as a Gemini rising. So this is definitely, I think, more potent or specific for you because it's involving your ruling planet. And whatever your ruling planet's doing, it could have a direct effect on you. So September 13th, there is this potential for clarity, for being able to maybe ground yourselves in something regarding your needs, how you want to show up in the world, and potentially the foundation, the home, people you live with, any of those themes, and how they can set you up for success, how whatever's going on foundationally can set you up for success long-term, not only in career or the things that bring you fulfillment, but also your physical body, how you want to literally move through the world. The good news with this, Mercury is not only in rulership here, but it is also exalted. So this is a very well-resourced Mercury, and so I think that adds an additional layer of potency to this. So I would definitely look for some clarity involving those themes specifically on September 13th. Now, September 17th is when things start to build a little bit, especially in my opinion, towards that next eclipse, because after that Mercury Cassimi, that Mercury starts to apply to an opposition to Saturn here. Now let me change this back to Gemini Rising. So Mercury is going to apply to an opposition here. So this is where I think a little bit of that tension, frustration. Again, if you're familiar with your human design and you sort of know your not self theme, this is where I think this can come in, that feeling can come into gear. So I think there could be this moment of clarity, but then the days after it seems like there could be some tension or some tug of war, or maybe burning the candle at both ends. And it's involving Saturn in this 10th house of career and public recognition. So some of you could be feeling sort of, okay, I have this clarity, I have this knowing, something you could feel really good about, whatever it may be around what you need foundationally. It could be at odds with some restriction from your work, from your career, from your public recognition. So some of you may be wanting to pertain to, the home, or spending time with family, or a property or real estate situation, a renovation, a redecoration. But the opposition to Saturn is like, hey, you can't forget about your responsibilities. You can't forget about the discipline. You can't forget about the growth and potential, your long-term resources, your financial situation, and most importantly, where you want to go long-term with your career and the things that bring you fulfillment. So there could be this sort of lead up to the next eclipse on the 21st, where you could feel a little bit at odds between, work and home, and any of those themes involving those areas. So then we get to September 21st. And there's going to be this new moon solar eclipse here at 29 degrees. And this new moon solar eclipse is a new moon. It's a new opportunity. It's a new beginning, very strong one for many of you, involving home, family, property, and real estate. So there could be this new thing that you want to start, whether it's a renovation or property or real estate or relationship with family, or just home and family themes in general, where you really want to start that new beginning or new opportunity around the foundation of your life. But that's also in opposition with Saturn up here. So the deeper we get into September, I think we're all going to be feeling this, but for you, it's going to be between home and family themes versus your career, public recognition, and sort of, well, I really want to do this thing foundationally. I really want to start this new chapter with home, family, property, real estate themes potentially. But I also have to balance it with my work responsibilities, with my career, my business responsibilities, and my long-term growth and potential, my resources, my, long-term financial situation. So some of you, it might be really looking at finances, a partner's finances, even if that's applicable, and how that's playing into the home, family, property, real estate themes that you really want to step into, while also maintaining the responsibility and discipline that's required from work or those things that bring you fulfillment. So I think for a lot of Gemini risings, this is angular houses. It's going to require a lot of balance, maybe even balance with a little bit of adaptability and flexibility in order to do so as you get deeper into September. Then I really want to end the month on September 22nd, the day after the eclipse, because this is when Mars enters its place of rulership in your Scorpio 6th house of daily work and health routines. I think this could help. The reason why is with oppositions, it can just feel like you want to open the front door and the back door of your home at the same time. And it can be a little disorienting sometimes, or frustrating sometimes, to focus on one and then attend to the other, when you might want to focus on one end of the spectrum more than the other. So when Mars enters its place of rulership in your Scorpio 6th house. A Mars in Scorpio is precise. It is accurate. And so Mars ruling your 11th house, this Aries 11th house as well, of social network and long-term goals, I think could help you get more precise and accurate, and maybe even getting to the bottom of something, working on something, achieving something that most people might not be able to, might not want to. Mars in Scorpio, where something is very challenging or where most people feel there isn't a way, a Mars in Scorpio will find the way. And so I think with the eclipses and this opposition here, you do have this Jupiter trine between your second house of earned income and your career. So I do think that there is for some of you, there could be more expansion going on with career that's requiring more responsibility from you, that could be taking you away from home or the foundational area of life that you really want to focus on. But this Mars in Scorpio, I think, is going to help us collectively find a way to have the best of both worlds. So the good news for you is that this is in a workhouse. Mars will eventually trine anything in this 10th house of career, helping you get more precise and accurate in your daily work and health routines that could potentially dissolve those obstacles or that frustration or that opposition energy between your career, the things that bring you fulfillment, and the foundation of your life. Hello, Cancer risings. So starting off the month, September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces 9th house of growth and potential. So higher education, spirituality, travel, publishing, teaching, really any of those things that provide us so much growth and potential in life. Now, for some of you, your midheaven might be around this area up here. If it is, this is going to have stronger, or most likely have stronger, career and public recognition themes going on at the same time. But regardless, Saturn retrograding back into this area, Saturn's already gone over this area. Saturn has already brought in some situation into our lives, into our consciousness. So Saturn's going back over the degrees that it already went over roughly around April, May of 2025. So some of you might literally be able to think back to what was happening in April, May of 2025, and that you're coming back to with a new perspective. You're coming back to maybe strengthen or perfect, or, anything to do with maybe this 8th house too, because Saturn rules this 8th house of financial situations, long-term financial management, resources, as well as any 7th house personal or professional partnership themes. So there could also be financial themes, transformational themes, or partnership themes that are tied into going back to whatever took place April, May of 2025, if that resonates. But generally speaking, this could be a wonderful time to sort of think back. What do you want to review? What do you want to revise? Where do you want to get a little bit more disciplined, more improvement regarding the area of growth and potential in your lives, so that when Saturn goes direct, you're ready to go. Now, moving forward to September 7th, we have the first of the two eclipses this month. Let me get this to Cancer risings. Oops, wrong way. So September 7th, the moon here says 8 degrees, but ignore that. The full moon lunar eclipse is at 15 degrees. Okay, and this is a full moon, a very strong full moon, illuminating, again, that 9th house of growth and potential. So what do you want to release? What do you want to culminate? What is being illuminated that Saturn might help you say, hey, let's perfect this a little bit more. Let's strengthen this a little bit more, involving any of those areas of growth and potential in your life. The good news is that the ruler of this eclipse is Jupiter. And Jupiter is in your first house of the self, the physical body. And it is exalted there. And it is also trine this north node, increasing your desire, your purpose, your alignment to the growth and potential you seek at this time. So the ruler of this being exalted in such a personal house, it's you, it's your physical body, trine, dissolving obstacles to whatever is really amplifying or illuminated around growth and potential. This could be travel, spirituality, teaching, publishing, really any of those things that are being amplified in that area. And for some of you, it could definitely have more career, business, or public recognition themes. Again, if your midheaven is in this area here, probably I would say between this 18 degrees to 29 with Saturn in the North Node interacting with this. But even 15 degrees with that full moon culminating at that 15 degree mark here. So this is potent. This is powerful. And if any of you have personal placements in this Scorpio fifth house of creativity, self-expression, joy, children, if applicable, that could form a grand trine between these houses and actually add more joy, creativity, and self-expression to whatever is culminating around this time. Now on September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi that I want to mention. So this Mercury Cassimi, Mercury will be in the heart of the sun for a few hours on September 13th. This is usually a time where we get clarity. We get aha. We get that we're able to see something that maybe we couldn't see before. Either way, I like a Mercury Cassimi, particularly when this Mercury is in rulership and it is also exalted. So this is a very powerful Mercury here. And Mercury rules your 12th house of the subconscious thought patterns as well. So there could be something going on in your immediate daily environment that could be illuminating. That could be a source of inspiration, clarity. But this third house is also communication and technology, whether you use that personally or professionally, which could also be a source of clarity or inspiration around this time. The third house is also siblings and extended family. So if you're with siblings, extended family, really the third house, people, places, and things, including communication and technology in your everyday immediate environment, could be a source of clarity, understanding, this, insight, particularly because that Mercury also rules your 12th house of those subconscious thought patterns. So some of you could be getting really powerful downloads, really powerful subconscious insights. Some of you could be having just communication or conversation or something in your daily environment allows you to tap into your deeper subconscious thought patterns, your deeper dreams, your visions, any of those things. So this could be a very potent, powerful day for Cancer Risings, just to take some time to sort of tune into the potential of that Mercury Cassimi energy. Then on September 17th, fix this here. September 17th, this Mercury is going to start to apply to an opposition with Saturn. So maybe there is insight. Maybe there is a new idea, a new vision, communication, anything along those lines that you now have to balance or integrate with the responsibility and the discipline regarding any growth and potential. So maybe some of you have, it's more career or business themes, or some of you are writers, teachers, educators. Some of you are working on spirituality, or you travel. Any growth and potential themes that require your focus, your dedication, and your commitment could be at odds with some new insight or new idea that you really now want to integrate. So if I'm being honest, for Cancer risings, going into eclipse season, these oppositions happening between the 3rd and the 9th, I feel is very cerebral, especially a Mercury in rulership, a Mercury in his place of exaltation. Mercury rules Mercury is a planet of communication. Mercury is the one planet that can exist in both worlds. And so and it's in the 3rd house of communication, exchanging information, where Saturn's in that 9th house of the higher mind, higher education, spirituality, growth, potential. So this is a very cerebral, mental sort of balance between those bigger long-term responsibilities with your growth and potential versus those immediate day-to-day insights that maybe some of you want to start integrating or working with. Then when we get to September 21st, this is the 2nd eclipse. It is a new moon solar eclipse at 28-29 degrees. And this is an anaretic degree. This is a sense of urgency around maybe starting a new chapter, starting something new around your daily environment, your siblings, your extended family. Again, communication, technology, whether it's personal or professional. Some of you might have your IC in this area. If your IC is in this area, it could have additional home, family, property, or real estate themes coming into consciousness or suddenly coming into this wave of new energy. Maybe it's a new chapter or a new beginning around a living situation or people you live with that for some of you could be coming into play in September that maybe could require additional stress to balance, career and growth and potential versus those immediate mundane appointments, tasks, etc. So I think a lot of times when I see eclipses in the 3rd and the 9th, it creates a very busy day-to-day energy. So I think, with Mercury ruling that 12th house of the subconscious thought patterns, the solitude, the sleep, the dreams, going into September could be a great time to get anchored in on making sure you're well rested, making sure that you have some time to yourself to process and see how you can balance this opposition to set yourself up for success in your immediate everyday environment versus those long-term commitments around your growth and potential. And that really is setting you up, I think, for February 2026 and onward, when that Saturn-Neptune conjunction happens at 0 degrees of your 10th house of career and public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment. I want to end the month on September 22nd when Mars bumps into your 5th house. This is going to be your 5th house. So Mars on the 22nd is going to enter this Scorpio 5th house of creativity, self-expression, joy, children, if applicable. I like a Mars in Scorpio. And Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. And so if you're struggling this month to figure out a way to set yourself up for success, to balance all of these things, especially with these eclipses and the opposition between Mercury and Saturn, that could be pulling us in two different directions and really testing us to balance both of these worlds. Mars entering Scorpio is sort of a situation where a lot of times I see where certain individuals couldn't figure it out or find a way. A Mars in Scorpio will figure it out. It will find a way. It's very precise. It's very accurate. And with it entering this area, this 5th house area, I think some of you could really start to tap into, more precise ways of working with your creativity, your artistry, your self-expression. Some of you might get really clear in carving out creativity and self-expression with Mars also ruling that 10th house in your career and your business. If it's children, if you have children, you're planning for children, anything along those lines, if that's applicable to you, a Mars in Scorpio could help you get more precise and accurate with figuring out how to balance all the things you want to achieve and do, and also take care of any themes regarding children, because anyone who has children knows it can be very hard to balance the unpredictability of having children, planning for children, and also all the other areas of your life. But for you, I think it has more career, public recognition, or the things that bring you fulfillment themes regarding the creativity and self-expression or children, if that's applicable to you. So again, really interesting eclipse season. It's going to, I think, test and challenge us to really balance our discipline, our focus in a way where we are also reviewing and revising it, perfecting it, strengthening for you that growth and potential, and sort of those daily immediate environment insights that you might be getting that could be a source of inspiration, a source of, coming from dreams, subconscious thought patterns, that mental vision board of yours, and how to sort of balance that in your immediate everyday environment with those long-term growth and potential commitments that you have that could be playing into your career, your business, your public recognition, where this Mars on September 22nd, entering its place of rulership in your Scorpio 5th house, can really help you get super laser focused on anything regarding creativity, self-expression, or anything playing out with your children that could also be tying into this need to balance both the growth and potential versus the everyday immediate environment. Hey, Leo risings. Okay, so September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into our Pisces 8th house. So, Saturn is going to be retrograding over the territory that it already originally went over roughly around April, May of 2025. So for some of you, this could be bringing you back to something that was coming into consciousness or something that was really playing out in April, May of 2025 with a new perspective, a new way to strengthen, a new way to improve. So this could be opportunistic. Now, Saturn does rule your 7th house of personal and professional partnerships. So this could also include something that was playing out within a marriage, a partnership, a business partnership that can now be sort of reflected on with a new perspective. Or Saturn rules your Capricorn 6th house as well. So this could be tying in 6th house themes of daily work and health routines. Now, the 8th house is the house of transformation. So this could involve transformational work as you review and revise, improve, strengthen, and perfect either areas of partnership, work, and or health. That could involve transformational work, transformational decisions, or because the 8th house is a financial house, this could also involve some sort of improvement, commitment, strengthening to your long-term financial management, resources as well, or even a partner's resources, particularly because Saturn does rule the area of partnership for you. So again, this, to me, Saturn retrograding into Pisces, as a Leo rising, I personally was not a fan of Saturn going through Pisces. It was rocky for me. I'm sure I've heard it's been rocky for many other Leo risings the past couple years. The 8th house can be, it's an averse house, but this is a Saturn retrograding over an area that you've already worked with. It's already it's come into consciousness. You've dealt with it. You've worked with it. So the retrograde to me is sort of this opportunity to kind of take a step back and see what has unfolded, and maybe an opportunity to, again, improve or perfect it, which could definitely involve transformational work, financial themes, resources, partners' resources, as well as any work or health situations that could also be playing out that's requiring some sort of change, revisionary period around those things. So moving on to September 7th, we have the first of the two eclipses this month, the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces at 15 degrees. So if you're watching, this moon says 10 degrees, but I'm not going to change the hour marker of Leo because the most important part right now is just to keep the houses in line. But this full moon lunar eclipse will be happening at 15 degrees in your Pisces 8th house of transformation, long-term financial stuff, investments, assets, debt, loans, partners' resources. So something could be culminating around transformational work, around a financial situation that could be involving a business partnership, a personal partnership, your work, health, whatever it may be, regarding those themes, where Saturn is simultaneously helping you review, revise, sort of perfect, improve, and commit to that thing that really works for you financially or transformationally at this time regarding partnership, work, and or health. The ruler of this eclipse is Jupiter, and Jupiter will be exalted in your Cancer 12th house of subconscious thought patterns. Now, the good news with this is that the ruler of this eclipse this time, so the one back in September of 2024 in Pisces, the ruler of that eclipse, Jupiter, again, was in detriment. This time, the ruler is exalted. So in my opinion, this is helpful. This is very supportive. So Jupiter is very well resourced in the area of Cancer, and in my opinion, can provide whatever is culminating around transformational work, or whatever is culminating around work, partnership, and or health transformationally, or those long-term financial themes that I discussed. So it's also trine. So trines dissolve obstacles. So I would pay attention to what's going on mentally, subconscious thought patterns, dreams, visions, anything that you have, in this more hidden house and more hidden area of your life. That could be a source or a resource to dissolve the obstacles to whatever you want to transform or eventually commit to long-term with finances, resources, again, work, health as well. So September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi. And I think that this is important. I don't talk about every Mercury Cassimi, but I think this one's important because this is the area or the house that the new moon solar eclipse is going to be happening. And so Mercury Cassimis are most of my clients, one-on-ones, family, friends in my daily life, they tend to report those few hours. And for you, it's going to be a few hours over the course of September 13th, the day of September 13th, where there is a sense of clarity. There is this grounded knowing, inner insight, just clarity around a particular situation. And the good news with this is that Mercury will not only be in rulership in your second house of earned income and self-worth, it will also be exalted. So this is a very strong Mercury in your second house of earned income and self-worth. So pretty good, very well resourced, especially in a financial house. And Mercury also rules your 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. So this clarity could definitely come from a financial situation. Maybe you're getting clarity around a budget, getting clarity around your innate gifts, your value. And this could also play into some insight or clarity that could come on September 13th involving the right places, the right people, and those long-term goals. Now, as we move forward to September 17th, that Mercury is going to start to apply to an opposition with that Saturn in that 8th house, that other financial house. So, whatever clarity comes from goals, your social network, who you need to surround yourself with, the right people, places, and things that are going to align you to those long-term goals, really getting clarity and insight around getting anchored in your value, your self-worth. This Mercury is going to form this opposition with Saturn in your 8th house. So oppositions can be challenging. And in this case, there could be that clarity and insight around your finances, your value, your long-term goals, your social network. And it might be challenging to balance that with those long-term commitments and responsibilities to your transformational work, making transformational decisions around work or health or a partnership as well. But this is really, these two houses in this opposition, these two are really your financial houses. And there could be this part of you that has this clarity or insight or knowing around your income, your value, who you need to surround yourself with to align yourself to your long-term goals. And that's an opposition or in a challenging aspect to, well, I still need to be responsible and committed to my long-term financial goals, or that transformational work or those decisions and responsibilities regarding personal and professional partnerships, as well as just your daily work and health routines that require that daily grind, that daily responsibility. So as you get deeper into September, there could be this tug of war between knowing what's really true to you, what's true to your long-term goals, who you need to surround yourself with, that clarity, that insight, and also having to temporarily balance that with partnership responsibility, work and health responsibility. Again, Saturn rules the 6th house. The 6th house is like that daily grind. Some of the ancients called it like the slave driver house. It's the workaholic. So there could be something new coming into your consciousness around your goals and your value and your money and your potential. But that's going to temporarily have to be weighed with your immediate responsibilities around personal and professional partnerships, work, health. Now, as we move to the next, the September 21st. So September 21st, this new moon solar eclipse happens in that 2nd house of earned income and self-worth. So you've had some time to sit with the clarity, the insight, maybe how you're going to weigh it with the daily responsibility that you have to fulfill or that you have to strengthen or perfect around partnerships, work, health, whatever it may be. And then this new moon comes along. It's actually going to be at 29 degrees. And this is a new beginning or a new opportunity that you might want to really initiate around finances. And the 2nd house is your money. It is your paycheck. So for some of you, this could be really setting that new chapter around, this is my worth, this is my value, this is what I deserve. And I'm setting a new chapter and focusing on those opportunities that are going to align me to that in a way that also aligns me to those long-term goals. However, you'll notice if you're watching, this new moon solar eclipse will also be opposite Saturn. So that tells me that really for the rest of September, there could be this background energy of, okay, I'm initiating this new chapter financially or setting those intentions for what I want financially and my value and my self-worth. But I still have to work out any last minute kinks to that Saturnian responsibility and discipline around still attending to the transformational work, still focusing on the long-term financial goals, if that resonates with you. But it could also have to be weighed with the daily work and health responsibilities that you have to temporarily take care of with this opposition. But again, this Saturn is retrograde. So it's kind of bringing you back to what was maybe for some of you, what was amplifying in April, May, or coming into real consciousness in April, May of 2025. That now could be coming back around with a new perspective. So maybe something's changed around that now has you setting new goals, new financial goals, surrounding yourself or wanting to surround yourself with new people to align yourself to those long-term goals. And that might take a little bit of time, especially with this opposition to Saturn. However, the following day on September 22nd is when we get Mars entering Scorpio, its place of rulership. So Mars is going to enter your Scorpio 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. A Mars in Scorpio, I personally like. It's very precise. It's very accurate. Where most people wouldn't see the ability or see the outcome or see the path, a Mars in Scorpio is going to be the one to figure it out. And this Mars in Scorpio is sort of like whatever that opposition and the eclipses, whatever is amplifying around finances, transformational work that might require you to continue being disciplined around your daily work and health routines and figuring out how to weigh that out temporarily while Saturn is finishing its chapter in that Pisces 8th house. This Mars entering your 4th house tells me that people you live with, home, family, property, real estate themes could be the source of trying to figure out how to balance those two worlds. Or the people you live with, family, people you consider family, could be those resources or those individuals that can provide the precision and the accuracy to figure out how to balance those two worlds. So again, it's going to depend on your natal chart, but I think this Mars entering Scorpio overall is going to be very helpful in getting very focused, laser focused, precise, and accurate in figuring out the core desires, the core motivations, and figuring out the way to balance that second house of earned income and your self-worth and the insights and the clarity that a lot of you will likely get this month, but also having to balance the long-term finances, the transformational work, and just that daily work, health, routine grind. Hello, Virgo Risings. So September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces 7th house of marriage, personal partnerships, professional partnerships, really just the area of long-term partnership. So Saturn has already gone over this area, and it's going back over the territory that it originally went over roughly around April, May of 2025. So some of you might be able to think off the top of your head, what was going on with personal and professional partnerships around April, May 2025? What was culminating? What was challenging? Where were you being tested? What was happening that now you could be coming back to with an entirely new perspective, or the desire to improve or strengthen the area of partnership? Now, this Saturn is finishing up the area that it's been in for roughly the past 2.5 years. So this isn't conclusive. I don't have your natal chart, but this is sort of the last trek that Saturn's making in this area. So if the past 2.5 years, or even maybe April, May of 2025 was challenging for you in the partnership area, then this going back to this area doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing. This is really, it already came into your consciousness. It already happened. There will be this, reviewing, improving, strengthening, gaining a new perspective, and then it will move on and move forward and leave this area roughly for the next 30 years. So you're really wrapping things up. Instead of, maybe 2.5 years ago, you were really beginning this Saturnian journey through that 7th house of partnership. So Saturn also rules your 6th house of daily work and health routines. So some of you might be seeking partnership or seeing how partnership affects your health, affects your routines, affects your work. Or if it's business partnership, some of you might be kind of coming back around to joining forces with someone in work to do some work project or whatnot. So Saturn coming back here could also provide a new perspective on those long-term partnerships that really support your daily work and health routines. Who's on Team Virgo? Who wants to set you up for long-term success? Who are those people in your life that Saturn likes commitment. So who are those people in your life that you feel maybe you're getting to a point where you're ready to commit to? Or even maybe it's someone you've already committed to, but you want to take it to the next level, that you're getting new perspective on how you can maybe integrate those personal and professional partnerships in your daily routines that support your health and your work. Saturn also rules this area, this Capricorn 5th house area of joy. So the 5th house also rules creativity, self-expression, romance. So some of you might be gaining new perspectives in ways where maybe some of you are looking into really improving or strengthening the partnership by enjoying life more, by having more creativity, more self-expression, more romance, more joy, more fun. So this could be a good time to start thinking, okay, maybe everything doesn't have to be so hard. How can we integrate the joy and the creativity and the expression within personal and or professional partnerships now that we have a new perspective? Again, if that resonates. The 5th house is also where we place children. So if children are applicable to you, this could definitely be bringing back some chapter or something that you're reviewing and revising within the partnership that could involve your children, sort of improving, strengthening the daily routines for maybe spending more time with children, setting you up and your children and the partnership up for success. So everyone is good to go long term. Moving forward, September 7th, we have the first of the 2 eclipses. And this eclipse, if you're watching, this says 11 degrees, but the eclipse is at 15 degrees. So this full moon lunar eclipse, really strong full moon, 15 degrees, illuminating the 7th house of partnership. So you're really going into September with quite a bit coming back around pertaining to the area of marriage, long-term partnership, and business partnership. And this full moon this time, compared to September of 2024, the ruler of it is Jupiter. And Jupiter is in this Cancer 11th house, exalted, trine your 7th house. So with the ruler of this full moon eclipse, culminating something around a partnership, culminating a chapter, illuminating something that maybe you didn't see before, maybe now you can see, and Saturn's helping you review and revise it and strengthen it and change it. Regardless, the ruler of it is happy, is well-resourced, and trine to this North Node in the 7th house. So to me, this astrologically says the ruler's well-resourced, is willing to dish out some help to culminate this area, whatever's playing out in personal and professional partnerships. And on top of that, this ruler is in a trine configuration, which dissolves obstacles. So whatever is happening, unfolding, culminating in this eclipse season, especially all happening in this area of partnership, Jupiter's resources and ability to dissolve maybe some of those obstacles that were there last year or even earlier this year can now sort of dissolve those obstacles and help maybe move things along. Fingers crossed. Then we move along to September 13th when this Mercury Cassimi. Now, Mercury is your ruling planet. It rules your Virgo right here, first house, self, physical body. So Mercury is not only in rulership in your first house, but it is also exalted. This is a very strong Mercury, and it is Cassimi, which is in the heart of the sun. And that is basically when Mercury gets revived. A lot of people, it's very subtle, but a lot of people over the years, including myself, have reported just those few hours where you just feel very grounded in clarity. You get insight, you get clarity. And for you, this Mercury rules you, but it also rules your 10th house of career and public recognition. And so some of you on September 13th could get a few hours where you suddenly start to get clarity around maybe the direction you want to take with your career, the things that bring you fulfillment. Maybe some of you could get insight as to the career path, the path to the things that bring you fulfillment, and how they most support your physical body and yourself. Either way, I think this is really setting the stage for the new moon solar eclipse coming on the 21st, which I'll get to. But on September 17th, after you get that insight and potential clarity, that Mercury starts to oppose this Saturn in your 7th house of personal and professional partnership. So this tells me whatever insight, whatever clarity around maybe what you really need, what's really going to support you and how you want to show up in the world pertaining to career, the things that bring you fulfillment, excuse me, could start to become at odds with the responsibility required for long-term personal and professional partnership. So some of you might be gaining insight as to maybe new things that fully support you, and then you might reach a point where you might have to find a way to integrate that within your long-term partnerships. Or this can just be with Mercury also ruling the 10th house of career, public recognition. For some of you, this could be the tension or feeling pulled in two different directions regarding this Mercury ruling that 10th house of career in your first house of self, saying, okay, we've had some clarity, we've had some insight, and really want you to focus on the career, focus on your work, focus on the things that bring you fulfillment. And then Saturn's over here saying, well, I need you to focus on your partnerships, or the partnerships that support you long term, or those partnerships that you've committed to. And also just your daily work and health routines. And if you have children, Saturn ruling the 5th house of children. So sort of balancing, my work, my goals, my my business, my public recognition. Really strong here, really pulling you in the direction. And then Saturn opposite is also saying, well, don't forget about the other people in your life and the responsibilities with those partnerships and your health and your routines and taking care of all the other stuff outside of that. So it's happening between the 1st house of the self and the 7th house of the other. So it could definitely show up between you and other people. And maybe some of you, this might show up as, I'm really trying to do what I need to do to take care of myself versus taking care of all the needs of others. How do I balance the needs of myself versus the needs of others could really be highlighted for some of you as you go into eclipse season. So moving on to the second eclipse on the 21st, it'll be at 28, 29 degrees. 29 degrees is the aneretic degree. It is a sense of urgency. So with it being in your 1st house of the physical body, some Virgo risings, you could really feel this viscerally. You could feel that sense of urgency of, I want to start this new chapter. I want to start this new opportunity around the thing that's really going to support me, support my physical body, maybe even support my career and the things that bring me fulfillment. But you'll notice this new moon eclipse where you're really going to want to start this new chapter or this new opportunity around the things that support you and how you want to show up in the world is opposite Saturn in that 7th house of partnership. So it's still this continuation of asking you, how can you balance your needs and where you want to go and what's going to really support your fulfillment versus those long-term commitments in your life or the long-term commitment you want to attract. So just because it's happening in partnership doesn't mean if you're single, you're exempt from this. This could definitely mean maybe some of you are thinking about, well, if I do this thing or if I really want to focus on myself, what type of partner is going to support that? What type of partner is going to be able to integrate this new chapter or new direction that I want to take? So some of you could really be, even if you're single, be at odds with what does long-term commitment to personal and professional partnerships look like with what really supports me. Then on the following day, on September 22nd, Mars is going to enter your Scorpio 3rd house of communication, technology, really those people, places, and things within your immediate day-to-day environment. I like a Mars in Scorpio because with all this opposition energy to Saturn re-entering your area of partnership and these eclipses, a Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. Mars in Scorpio will find a way when most people cannot. And whatever opposition or tension you're trying to integrate or balance throughout this month, or whatever the eclipses are shaking up between you versus the other people in your life, partnership, the Mars in Scorpio towards the end of this month, I think, is helping the situation because it's helping us get laser focused. And for you, this laser focus could be on your immediate daily environment. So for some of you, you're like, okay, well, whatever needs to be balanced, whatever happens, the Mars entering your third house could show up as you taking care of the things that only you have control over. And in a way where it is very focused, it is very precise, it is very accurate, it is very logical. It's very, if I take care of this, I take care of business, I take care of my appointments, my task, my communication, whether it's personal or professional, then I can figure out all these other things. Or I could free up more time to figure out that balance between me versus others and the direction that I want to take over the next 5 to 6 months with that. So I personally think that Mars in Scorpio is going to help us get really, really focused. And for you, it's going to probably show up in your immediate everyday environment, your neighborhood, your community, your commute, your short distance travel, communication, exchanging information. This Mars in Scorpio could also provide you the ability to gain access to information, right? Communication, information, maybe it's conferences, maybe it's things going on in your daily environment, siblings, extended family, people in your immediate environment that you have communication or exchanging information with that can provide you the decisions, the transformational decisions, or the knowledge to balance the opposition that's happening with the eclipses and Mercury and Saturn between your first house of self and partnership. Hello, Libra Risings. So we are really literally kicking off September 1st with Saturn retrograding into your Pisces, 6th house of daily work and health routines. So this could, by degree, because Saturn has already gone over this territory by degree, that it will station direct at in a few months. But the degrees that Saturn's backing up over could be bringing us back to roughly April, May of 2025. So some of you might be able to think back to what was really happening, initiating. Maybe it was in this area of 6th house of work or health. So maybe something was playing out with health. Maybe something was playing out with work. And for you, Libra Risings, Saturn rules this 4th house, this Capricorn 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So it could have had undercurrents or tones or flavors of relationships with family, property, real estate. Saturn also rules this Aquarius 5th house. So it could also, 5th house is children, if applicable to you. Situations playing out with your children. The 5th house is also creativity and self-expression. So if you do work in creative fields, or you are doing something creative at home, like a renovation or a redecoration, or any of those themes play into what you do for work, this could be sort of reviewing and revising it in a way where Saturn likes to strengthen things. So this could just be an invitation to gain a new perspective, take a different approach to whatever maybe was playing out for some of you in April, May of 2025, if that resonates. If it doesn't, that's totally fine. Just think about your health and work in ways that maybe you want to take a different approach, have a different perspective, maybe improve it or strengthen it, and how 4th house themes like home, family, property, and real estate could be playing into that, or could be resources to provide a different perspective, strengthen, improve. Or this 5th house could be playing into maybe the work, the creative work, the self-expression, if that resonates with you. Now, moving along to September 7th, where we have the first out of the 2 eclipses that we have this month. The September 7th, This, if you're watching, this says 12 degrees for the moon, but the full moon lunar eclipse is actually at 15 degrees. I'm not going to change the time because I don't want it to mess with the Libra Rising hour marker here. So this full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees in your 6th house of daily work and health routines. This could be culminating, closing out something with health. This could also be culminating or illuminating something about your work, especially if it's any side hustles, side work, things you're doing with colleagues. Regardless, this could really be a very strong illumination or culmination around a work project, maybe a health goal or a health situation that's been playing out with Saturn going through your 6th house. This doesn't always have to be a negative health situation. Some of you have been doing the discipline, putting in that commitment and that work to strengthen yourself, strengthen your health, strengthen your body. And so this could be a positive thing where maybe you reach a goal and you're sort of seeing that and being able to culminate that. Either way, definitely pay attention to health work themes around this time. And what I like about this eclipse in Pisces is the ruler of this eclipse, Jupiter, is up here in your Cancer 10th house of career and public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment. And this Jupiter is exalted. Now, the last time we had the Pisces eclipse back in, I believe, September of 2024, the ruler of the eclipse, Jupiter, was actually in detriment. So I like my rulers, I like my landlords to be happy and well-resourced, because that can help the situation, that can play into maybe some resources, some support, some help to whatever is shifting, changing, or culminating with these eclipses. And another thing I really like about this is that this exalted Jupiter is also trine the North Node, hanging out with this full moon eclipse in your 6th house of work. So because this is between your 6th house of work and your 10th house of career, public recognition, if you are working, career, business, any of those things, this could definitely be this could help dissolve any obstacles to the work you want to do or the work that you want to expand. And this could also play into maybe focusing on the routines that are really going to support your work and your health. So some of you could be getting sort of clarity around this illuminating time. Either way, I think there are very helpful factors to this full moon lunar eclipse here, the ruler, and Saturn, which we all sometimes are worried about, is retrograding back into this area to, I think, help say, hey, what are you seeing? What are you culminating? What resources do you have around your work and or health? And how can we maybe use this Saturn to strengthen it and to improve it or commit to it long term? Create some longevity around the health, create some longevity around the work and routines that you really want to do and be in. Now, September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi. The Mercury Cassimi is actually at 20 degrees on September 13th. So if you're watching, this is actually supposed to be happening at 20 degrees. But again, I'm not going to change this hour marker here so that it stays relevant to your houses. So Mercury Cassimi in your 12th house. This one is going to be interesting, in my opinion, for Libra risings, because Mercury is not only in rulership, it is also exalted here. And a Mercury Cassimi is basically when Mercury is in the heart of the sun. It's within 17 minutes of the sun. And so there's this couple hour period on September 13th that you could get sudden insight. this aha, this moment of clarity. And because it's happening in your 12th house of your subconscious thought patterns, your dreams, your visions, some of those things that you sort of keep behind closed doors, I think this has extra potency for Libra risings to sort of see what you need to see internally, have that moment of clarity, have almost this subconscious insight. Now, what's particularly even more interesting about it is because Mercury also rules your Gemini 9th house of growth and potential. So maybe there is this moment of clarity or insight that you get mentally. This could also be the potential for some really interesting dreams around this time. So, September 13th, going, into the evening of September 12th, 13th, depending on where you are in the world. Pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to some insight or messages they could have for you. Because this Mercury ruling this 9th house of growth and potential, you could get some insight or clarity in some really interesting ways that provide you some answers or some knowing about your growth and potential. Maybe the 9th house is publishing, teaching, higher education, spirituality, travel. So maybe some of the clarity and insight for some of you could be ideas for the next thing you're going to write, or clarity and insight around the thing that you want to teach or show the world, or some spiritual insight, some knowledgeable insight that could be deeply nourishing to your mental health or your mental thought patterns. Either way, I think this is something that has the potential to provide so much insight and clarity for some of you behind the scenes, right? Internally, mentally, that could help launch you into the external growth and potential, the next thing that you want to do, or the next thing that you need to know on your journey. Then on September 17th, things get interesting, because after that insight or clarity, that Mercury starts to oppose Saturn here in your 6th house of daily work and health routines. So it's almost as if there's some insight or clarity or maybe aha moment that you're sinking into. And then the days after it, where we get to September 17th, it could cause some friction or feelings of restriction with your daily work and health routines. So, for example, say you get insight around the next thing you want to write, or the next thing you want to teach, or the next place you want to go, and you feel really good about it. Mercury opposes Saturn in this 6th house of daily work and health routines. And that might have you say to yourselves, okay, well, how do I integrate this within my already really busy routine? How do I do all the work, take care of my health, all the other routines I have, and find time for this thing that, I just got clarity on or insight on? So some of you, it could be as minimal as, I'm really now trying to integrate this new idea into my work or into some routine. And it could be as simple as that. Either way, this opposition is happening between the 12th and the 6th. So Saturn's kind of coming back into the 6th house and saying, all right, how can I provide you the opportunity, if you want to take it, to perfect, improve, strengthen your work and health routines, so that you can incorporate more of the things that you want to do, or incorporate more of the life that you want to live. And this opposition here in this 12th house is also saying, but we really need you to sleep, and we really need you to have some time alone, and we really need you to focus on the internal. So you might feel pulled, this opposition pulled in, okay, how do I get enough sleep? How do I focus on, just taking care of making sure my mind and my body have what it needs, and then also take care of all this other stuff that I want to do. So on a very basic level, I think a lot of Libra risings, you might just feel very pulled in two different directions, where mentally you might have a lot on your mind. You might mentally be thinking about a lot of things. You might be thinking about travel, writing, teaching, higher education. This is a strong mental transit, in my opinion, that has the potential to cause a lot of mental acuity, thoughts, ideas, knowledge, subconscious thought patterns coming up. And then Saturn's over here like, okay, but I really need you to work, and I really need you to, take care of your health and wellness routines at the same time. And you might just feel sort of like, well, I want to do this over here, but I got to take care of this over here. So as you get deeper into September, whatever the eclipse is, potentially shake up. Again, it's not conclusive. Your natal placements can totally influence this story playing out. But I think as you get deeper into September, a lot of you could feel that tug of war between your mind and your body, and the needs between both worlds. Then we get to September 21st, where we have this new moon solar eclipse it's actually at 29 degrees if you're watching. And this is an anaretic degree. This is a sense of urgency. So again, this opposition is leading up to even a potential larger sense of urgency around wanting to initiate a new chapter, step into that new opportunity that could be coming your way, that could increase your growth of potential, that could increase more vision for your life. And I think a lot of you are going to really want to be stepping into a new mental chapter where maybe some of you are ready for more mental relief. Maybe some of you are ready to step into that inner knowing, whether it's spirituality, your truth, your knowledge, your beliefs, and really start a new chapter grounded in that, more centered, more peaceful in that, where that can set the stage to maybe incorporate new routines or new types of work that are in alignment to how you want to feel mentally. Either way, this new moon solar eclipse, it's a new chapter, it's a new opportunity that is happening in that 12th house. So really setting that new chapter with how you want to feel mentally and how that can set you up for success in so many other areas of your life. What we perceive is what we receive. How we feel internally can really manifest externally. And so I think a lot of Libra risings are maybe the past couple years seeing how certain things have affected you guys, and how maybe it's been relationships, maybe it's been work, maybe it's been health, maybe it's been home and family. Either way, certain aspects of your life for a lot of Libra risings have had major impact on a lot of you. And I think this could be the opportunity for a lot of Libra risings to say, enough is enough. I'm done feeling this way. I'm done thinking this way. I don't want to live my life like this anymore. And it starts internally, and then we go from there. And this new moon eclipse is also opposite Saturn in the 6th. So this Saturn can be a little bit of a thorn in the side where it says, okay, I think this Saturn opposition could be holding you accountable and saying, all right, you want to start this new chapter around your visions for your life, how you want to feel, how you want to, mentally move through the world where everything else sort of stems from or grows from. The Saturn here is basically saying, how can you now integrate that into your daily routines? How can you walk the talk? I think that's how you say it. How can you, if you want to feel this way, if you want to think this way, how can we start creating work and health routines that start anchoring you in that? How can we create the action and the plan to integrate that? So I think the Saturn opposition could be a time, or even just a couple day period with this eclipse, to say, all right, this is how I want to feel, and I need to now take the next step and implement and integrate that into my daily work and health routines, and sort of, basically live that life that you're thinking. Make it, Saturn's a legacy planet. Saturn wants to make things a tangible reality. And I think with the Saturn opposition here with this new moon eclipse is basically saying, okay, it might feel a little crunchy. Oppositions can be challenging, but I think the Saturn is basically saying, all right, you're feeling this mentally. This is where you want to go. This is the new chapter you want to settle into. How can we really set you up for long-term success with that? Make it a tangible reality through the effort within those daily work and health routines. The following day, I really want to wrap up this month with the following day. Mars is going to enter your Scorpio second house of earned income and self-worth. And I think this Mars in Scorpio is going to help the opposition with the Mercury Cassimi and the new moon eclipse on the 21st, because a Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. And where we feel we can't figure it out, or where we feel that opposition of how am I going to do this thing, a Mars in Scorpio will figure it out. It will get to the bottom of it. And that's what I love about a Mars in Scorpio, where everyone else feels like, how are we going to do this? I don't see the way. I don't see the path. The Mars in Scorpio is going to see the way. It's going to find the path. And I think with the configurations and then Mars entering this very precise, accurate place where it is very well resourced, it has the ability to be precise and be accurate and figure it out in terms of, all right, what's the desire? What's the motivation? What's the plan of action in order to implement whatever these eclipses shake up? I'm liking this. I think it's subtle. It's sort of happening in the background, but I think it is the helpful transit that is oddly happening the day after the eclipse. So I think once the Mars enters Scorpio, this could definitely help you get very anchored in your value, in your self-worth. This could also help with maybe money as well. So if you're feeling like, how am I going to have the money or the resources to balance the thing that I want to do or the life that I want to live, the Mars in Scorpio can help you get clear on what you need to do or how you need to do that monetarily. Either way, I think the Mars in Scorpio can be very clear and precise with self-worth and value as well. So where you might feel torn or imbalanced, or, these eclipses moving and shaking things up, the Mars in Scorpio, I think, is going to help a lot of Libra risings remember your self-worth and be very clear and concise with your self-worth. Or maybe it felt a little muddy in the previous months. Maybe it felt a little shaky or unsure. And so I think this is going to really help get very clear on potentially finances in order to do the thing that you want to do, or get very clear, crystal clear on your value and your self-worth in order to sort of propel yourself or motivate yourself to do the thing that you want to do. Hello, Scorpio risings. So on September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces fifth house. Now, this is the place of joy, but more specifically, this could translate to creativity, creative projects, self-expression, romance, or children, if that's applicable to you. But either way, I find this transit interesting because Saturn will be retrograding back over the degrees it originally went over in roughly April, May of 2025. So some of you could be coming back to a situation that was playing out in roughly April, May of 2025 with a new perspective, a new way to look at it, maybe improve it, strengthen it, whatever it may be. More specifically, the Saturn rules your Aquarius fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So this could be tying in themes to a living situation, property, real estate, situations playing out with family, relationships with family, whatever it may be regarding those themes and how they might specifically be manifesting in your life. You could use Saturn to sort of gain a new perspective, review and revise how you want to maybe incorporate more joy, more happiness in your home. What does that look like long term, right? Saturn is longevity, commitment. It's a legacy planet. So this could be a wonderful time to wrap up Saturn going through Pisces in the past couple years for Scorpio risings to get really clear once and for all, what is the living environment? What is the home environment that is going to support your joy, your creativity, your self-expression, maybe having children, not having children, whatever it means to you specifically. I think this could be a wonderful time to wrap up and utilize the last bit of Saturn in Pisces for you. And there is 2 birds stuck to my window at this time. So if you hear birds, I apologize. This is crazy. Anyways, so I think this could be a great time. Additionally, Saturn ruling your Capricorn third house of communication, technology. This is also personal or professional, siblings, extended family. This could also be tying in additional extended family sibling themes or daily immediate environment communication into sort of this living situation, home, family, property, real estate as well, tying in those themes of joy. Right? I think this could be a great time to, you've had a lot of Scorpio risings. You've had a long journey to contemplate what is going to support you foundationally. What is going to support you in a way where it's what foundation is going to support you long term, support the life that you want to grow over the next 15 years. And Saturn in Pisces is saying, okay, well, don't forget about joy. Don't forget about if you want to have a family, if if that's applicable to you, if you're creative, if you don't forget about joy and pleasure in that foundation. It's really, really important to not forget about that, which can be easy with Saturn because we can get really hung up on the logistics, the work of it, the discipline, the responsibility. But I think this could really wrap up that Saturn and Pisces transit for Scorpio risings regarding what's the life you want to build over the next 15 years? How do you want it to feel? How do you want it to look? And most importantly, how can you start building it in a way where you can start taking action towards it? Now, moving on to the first eclipse out of 2 this month on September 7th. If you're watching, this moon says 13 degrees, but I'm not going to change the hour marker because I want it to stay on Scorpio rising. So this full moon lunar eclipse is actually at 15 degrees. And this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces is really illuminating culminating something around the fifth house of joy, creativity, self-expression, children. So something could really be coming to a head with children. Something could really be culminating around your creativity, your artistry, your self-expression. Either way, this is really shining a very strong light on what brings you joy. And I think this could help a lot of Scorpio risings see the things that truly bring you joy, that really align you to that. While Saturn is here saying, whatever you didn't see before, whatever edits you want to make, let's integrate that. Let's strengthen that. Let's improve that. So I look at this Saturn retrograde as, yes, Saturn is, can be a heavy planet, but Saturn's kind of come back into the area that the eclipses are happening to say, all right, whatever shakes up and changes, I'm going to be here if you want to integrate it, if you want to sort of add this into the blueprint or the plan long term. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Jupiter in your Cancer 9th house, which is exalted here. So the last Pisces eclipse that I believe happened in September of 2024 in Pisces, the ruler Jupiter was actually in detriment. Now it is not only exalted in the area of growth and potential for you, Scorpio rising, it's trine the North Node around the time of the eclipses. This is wonderful. This is dissolving obstacles. This is allowing things to happen that need to happen. And I think things could shake up, change, come to a point of, whatever's going on. It could be home, family, property, real estate themes for some of you, or it could just be sort of the family, what really brings you joy, what do you want to really start building over the next 15 years where you can start integrating more joy into that foundation. Either way, this Jupiter's very well resourced saying, hey, what do you want to expand around your growth and potential? And this could include writing, teaching, publishing, higher knowledge, travel, international travel, that could help sort of expand, but also simultaneously dissolve the obstacles in order for you to really step into this eclipse. And that could be illuminating or culminating something in this fifth house. Now on September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi here in your Virgo 11th house of friends, groups, communities, and long-term goals. So a Mercury Cassimi on September 13th, a lot of you could experience this couple hour period in the day where you just get sudden clarity, sudden insight to what is unfolding this month. And what I particularly like about this Mercury Cassimi is that this Mercury is not only in rulership, it is exalted. So this is a very well-resourced Cassimi. Very well-resourced insight and clarity. And for you, this is happening in the area of your social network and your long-term goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Where do you want to go? So a lot of you could gain insight around this time around how to move forward with that long-term goal, how to insight or clarity around the dream or aspiration, insight and clarity around the people you really want to surround yourself with and how they might align you to your long-term goals. Now, this Mercury also rules your Gemini 8th house of transformation, long-term financial management, resources, also partners' resources. So a lot of you could get insight and clarity around a financial situation, your transformational work, or a partner's resources, if applicable, to the situation that's playing out around a long-term goal, social network, clarity around where you want to go. While again, Jupiter is expanding this growth and potential, trining this North Node. So I think a lot of you could be shifting gears or really starting to think, okay, this is where I want to go. These are my goals. This is what I envision. This is how I want to incorporate more joy into the foundation of my life that I want to build over the next 15 years for some of you. And Jupiter sort of in the corner saying, hey, let's utilize this growth and potential and maybe some of you might start to dissolve the obstacles that you felt in the past couple years in order to do the thing that you're thinking about at this time. While simultaneously, again, it's Mercury ruling your 8th house. You're thinking about finances. You're thinking about what assets, what investments do I have? What resources are available to me? What is the transformational work I need? So for some of you, maybe it's not financial. Maybe some of you, it's more psychological. So what transformational work do I need or have I done to make this decision or sort of see the next step in this path? And some of you might also be looking at 8th house, other people's resources. So a partner's resources, if applicable, could be tying into this picture or this goal as well. So September 21st, we have the second eclipse this month. And it's actually at 29 degrees here. And this new moon solar eclipse will be opposite Saturn. So with the Mercury Cassimi, this insight, this clarity, and then the lead up to this new moon, this new beginning eclipse around your long-term goals, your social network. In addition to that Mercury Cassimi with the insight and clarity, it's opposite Saturn. So oppositions can be challenging because, especially with Saturn, because Saturn is basically going to say, oh, you want to start this new chapter. You want to start this new beginning around your goals, your social network. Maybe it has a little bit to do with a living situation, a family situation. And the opposition to Saturn could be incorporating those themes, but it's also basically saying, well, you got to do the thing. You got to, if this is what you really want, you got to take action on it. You have to find a way to be disciplined, to integrate it, to find a way to take action on it, even in small baby steps, right? So the opposition to Saturn could feel a little tense for all of us experience this opposition. But for you, it could really be between, I really want to incorporate more joy into my everyday life. I want to maybe start a family for some of you, if applicable. And you really want to start the new chapter around your long-term goals and your social network, but you're trying to weigh in all this other stuff foundationally in your life. So the opposition's not, they can be challenging, but I like to think of oppositions as trying to open the front door and the back door of your home at the same time. And as much as you really want to do it both at the same time, you got to go to the front of the house and open the front door. And this is really up here, initiating that new chapter, that new opportunity to go after some long-term goals, some dreams, some aspirations. Maybe seek some social network that might help you align you to that, even if it's small baby steps. And then go to the back door here and say, okay, all right, Saturn, how can we integrate this? How can we do the work to integrate this, to implement this in a joyful way, right? So this opposition can be tough, but I think it is I think Saturn I think it's very weird how Saturn has backed up into Pisces one last time for this eclipse season to say, I'm going to hold you accountable and I'm going to hold you responsible, and we're going to improve it and we're going to integrate it in a way that works for you long term. So as you go into the deeper into September and these eclipses really start to amplify and roll out, I think you could start to think about what really, the full moon eclipse that happened on September 7th. What are you seeing that you couldn't see before? What is sort of culminating or closing out that maybe some of you need to let go of? Or maybe some of you are letting go of things that really are not going to provide you joy long term. But it's going to create space to create the life that you do want, that does resonate with you, that does feel good for you. And Again, with that Mercury Cassimi and Mercury ruling this 8th house here, the 8th house also rules fears. So there could be a lot of clarity and insight around your fears for some of you and how that has shaped the reality, or that maybe the fears were in the driver's seat in terms of decision. And the Mercury Cassimi on September 13th, that is also opposite Saturn, could, for some of you, there is a little bit of potential where some of you could see where fear was driving the decisions for the long-term goals versus, your inner truth, the thing that really brings you the truth and the joy in your life. So this could be a huge perspective transit for, I think, a lot of Scorpio risings, and your place in family, the living situation that's really going to nourish and build that foundation over the next 15 years. And in a way where maybe some of you are releasing what no longer brings you joy, or releasing the fears that have been in the driver's seat for some time, and getting back to what really feels good for you. Now, the following day after this eclipse on September 21st, Mars is going to enter your Scorpio first house, the self, the physical body. And I think this is going to be very helpful for Scorpio risings, not only because this is your ruling planet and it's in rulership, so it's very well resourced. This Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. And so whatever is playing out with these eclipses and transits throughout September, I think this Mars in Scorpio is really going to help you. I think it's going to help a lot of Scorpio risings get very clear, very precise, very accurate on the plan of action, the motivation, and the desire after these eclipses shake things up. Maybe you've released things, maybe you've seen some things, and now this Mars in Scorpio is like, okay, let's get to work. Where maybe before you thought maybe there wasn't a way, or I don't see how this is going to work out, this Mars in Scorpio could help a lot of you find the way and figure it out in a way that you couldn't see before. And this Mars in Scorpio, this Mars also rules your Aries 6th house of daily work and health routines. So for some of you, it might be a very physical action around being precise and accurate around your work and health routines in order to create the thing that you want to happen, move towards the thing that you want to start building and manifesting. So there could be, I would say, closing out September, some of you might see where your daily work and health routines could create that Saturnian structure to start implementing and taking steps towards the people you want to surround yourself with, the long-term goals, the work that you want to do, the vitality you want to feel, and most importantly, that foundation that is going to set you up for success long-term. Hello, Sagittarius risings. So right off from the start, September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate themes. So what's interesting about this is that Saturn will be retrograding over the area that it originally traversed in roughly April, May of 2025. So for some of you, this might be bringing something back around from April, May 2025 with a new perspective. Maybe it's bringing it back around for you to strengthen or improve. Regardless, if that resonates, something significant happened April, May 2025 regarding home, family, property, real estate. That could also involve finances, communication, whether that's professional or personal, as well as siblings and extended family. So something could be coming back around that's having you look at financial matters, situations playing out with siblings, extended family, maybe it's property, real estate, where Saturn, this is the last time Saturn is coming back to Pisces for roughly the next 30 years. So this is a wonderful opportunity, if desired, I think, to reevaluate, strengthen, improve any last bits that you want regarding home, family, property, real estate themes. So for some of you, this might be more psychological, sort of family relationships. And some of you, this might be more physical regarding property, real estate, things around the house and those and things like that. That could definitely have financial themes or situations tying it to it too, because Saturn, again, rules the second house of earned income and self-worth. So moving forward to that first eclipse on September 7th, it's going to be this full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees in your Pisces fourth house of home, family, property, real estate. So this is really keeping the home, family, property, real estate train going here. This is a full moon on steroids. This is a very strong culmination. Something could be culminating, a chapter could be closing regarding home, family, property, real estate themes. That could also be tying in financial themes as well, because Saturn, ironically, has come back to the area of Pisces where this eclipse is taking place, just to say, hey, whatever is illuminated, whatever gets culminated, whatever really amplifies around these home, family, property, real estate themes, Saturn's just coming back just in time to say, how do we want to integrate it? How do we want to perfect it, improve it? What is the foundation that is going to set you up for success over the next 15 years while Saturn continues climbing up the rest of your chart and eventually hits your midheaven? So this is a very important time, but this full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is exalted, very well resourced in this Cancer 8th house of transformational work, long-term financial management like investments, assets, debt, loans, other people's resources, including a partner's resources if applicable to you. So with the ruler of this eclipse being exalted and very well resourced, I think that is very helpful. It is, it's, in my opinion, willing to support, willing to help. And that help and that support could be coming from a partner's resources, long-term financial investments, or transformational work. If we're talking about more of a relationship, a family relationship dynamic, or a psychological dynamic within the home, people you live with, family, where this Jupiter is very well resourced in the opportunity to expand upon transformational work that could dissolve the obstacles to what you want to culminate, what you want to close out, what you maybe, for some of you, want to move on from regarding home, family, property, real estate themes. So, the 13th is interesting because I think this is the prelude. This is setting the stage for the second eclipse. This is a Mercury Cassimi. So Mercury will be in the heart of the sun. This is oftentimes what I get from people who report back is sort of this couple hour period in the day. And for you, this is going to be on September 13th, where you might get a lot of clarity. You might get a lot of insight around something. And for you, this insight is happening in the area of what brings you fulfillment. Could be career, could be your business, could be your public recognition. But this Mercury is not only in rulership, it is also exalted. And this is why I want to emphasize this, because this is a very strong Mercury that could provide a lot of insight, and a lot of clarity around not only what brings you fulfillment, whether that's personal or professional, but this Mercury also rules this Gemini 7th house of marriage, long-term partnership, and also business partnerships. So there could be some insight or clarity around a connection, a business partnership, something happening within your partnership. Maybe some of you are getting, if you're single, this could be getting clarity and insight around the partnership you really need, the partnership that's really going to support you long term. It's going to support you foundationally while Saturn is finishing up in your 4th house in that foundational area. So I think this could be a very interesting day for some of you. You could feel it as very opportunistic around getting clarity around the path to fulfillment, whether that's personal or professional, the close partnerships that are going to foster that are going to support that. Or it could be as minimal as just getting clarity and insight around something that's been playing out within a close partnership. As we get to September 17th, that Mercury Cassini starts to separate, Mercury starts to move forward, and then Mercury starts to apply to this opposition with Saturn. And this is interesting to me because it's sort of like whatever insight, clarity, sort of revival around the path to fulfillment, the foundation you want to sort of integrate and implement to build over the next 15 years that could involve partnership, whether you're single or in a partnership. And then when this Mercury starts to oppose Saturn down here, I think this is where the restriction or some of the feelings of blockages could come into play. So for example, if we get insight or clarity around something, we often go through this period of, okay, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to communicate it? How am I going to take action on it? How am I going to balance these two worlds? So this could bring into consciousness the need to balance this insight or clarity into your everyday home life or living situation. So if oppositions can be challenging, especially with Saturn, because whatever's going on up here in terms of like what really brings you fulfillment, the path you want to take, the close partnerships that are going to support that, bring that into fruition, whatever it may be, the Saturn down here is saying, well, don't forget about your home responsibilities. Don't forget about the foundation that you're laying down right now to bring that thing to fruition for some of you, over the next 15 years. And this Saturn can say, hey, we're still wrapping up this discipline and this work and setting boundaries and, laying down the bricks to this foundation in the area of home, family, property, and real estate in order to do this thing. So you might feel this tug of war between, I want to go, I want to do this thing, but Saturn's down here saying, well, what about me? What about the responsibilities here and the need to balance these two? Then when we get to the 21st, we have this new moon solar eclipse at the anaretic degree, which is an additional sense of urgency. So this could bring that urgency to start that new chapter or start that new opportunity. But again, if you're watching, this is still opposite Saturn in your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So this opposition could feel like you want to open the front door and the back door at the same time. And with oppositions, it's often, in this case, this new chapter, this new opportunity, this new thing that maybe for some of you personally or professionally feels more fulfilling to you. Or maybe it's a new chapter in your business or your work that you want to take. Whatever it may be, it could be very small, like a project or an idea, or literally very large, taking huge strides and major public changes in this area. This is sort of like, okay, the front door. I want to take the opportunity. I want to open the door. I want to let it in, and I want to go with it. And the opposition to Saturn is sort of the back door, where you're going to have to also remember to go to the back door and open the back door and say, okay, well, what's back here? I still need to attend to my backyard. So the analogy that I'm giving is sort of like you have a front yard and you have a backyard, and you have to take care of both of them. And this might feel like you really want to attend to just your front yard. You want to sort of like let in the new opportunity and the front door and the visibility. But this backyard, Saturn's like, well, you still have this down here with your family or relationships or property or real estate that you need to attend to, which could also include, again, those financial themes. So there could be this financial foundational component that could be playing into what you want to build over the next 15 years. That Saturn's like, hey, let's improve that. Let's integrate that. Let's really strengthen that. While this new moon up here is like, but I really want to start this new thing, and it feels more fulfilling. It feels more fun. Or I want to take my business in a new direction. The main message is you can do both. You can have it all. It just might require you to, one, with Saturn, get clear on finances, if that's something that you haven't done. Get clear on Aquarius, the other Saturn ruled area of your chart, communication. So who's in your corner? Who can you communicate to? Maybe there's relationships with siblings or extended family that are additional resources to help balance this opposition or feeling this tug of war in these two areas that can help dissipate that tension. The good news is, in my opinion, the next day, Mars is going to enter your Scorpio 12th house of the subconscious thought patterns. So wherever you feel that you can't quite figure it out yet, or maybe you're still sort of trying to figure out this eclipse season, what's shifted, what's changed, what's culminated, how do I balance the work that I want to do, the opportunities that might be coming in, and also the responsibilities at home or things playing out with family, property, real estate, also financially. And this Mars in Scorpio is, I think, going to help you mentally get very precise and accurate with your thoughts, your thought patterns, where you maybe mentally couldn't figure it out before. I think this Mars in Scorpio is going to help energetically get you to a place where you can figure it out. But because this is the 12th house is the house of solitude. It tells me that whether it's in your dreams, your sleep, some time alone, that's where you could probably figure this out. So going deeper into September, I think a lot of Sagittarius risings might, especially like the last week of September, a lot of you could, I shouldn't say a lot of you, if you start to feel that you need more alone time, you need more solitude to think, to process, to get more precise and clear on your thoughts, your vision, where you want to go, how you want to handle the core motivations, the plan of action moving forward, I would not be surprised by that. The other thing I will mention is that when Mars is going through the 12th house, it sometimes can cause what I like to call monkey mind. So mentally, you could be going a mile a minute. This could keep you up at night. Some of you could be waking up in the middle of the night, having a lot of thoughts, having a lot of ideas, feeling very precise, very clear about it. Your mind, mentally, you could be on fire. This is a very well-resourced Mars. So Mars has a lot of tools to do what Mars wants to do. And for you, it's in the area of the subconscious thought patterns, the sleep, the solitude. So the deeper you go into September, the more you get into this eclipse season, I would definitely get clear, or to the best of your abilities, your sleep schedule, your, even with Mars also ruling your 5th house of joy, finding moments of joy, finding some time to have fun could alleviate that mental merry-go-round if that's something that you're prone to. But regardless, I think with whatever shakes up this eclipse season, the Mars entering Scorpio, I think is going to help all of us, and particularly you, mentally, behind closed doors, your own thoughts, your own solitude, get really clear and precise on the motivations and the action in order to make this thing happen. Hello, Capricorn Risings. On September 1st, we have Saturn retrograding back into your Pisces third house of communication, technology. This could be personal or professional. This is really like your siblings, your extended family, but I like to think of the third house as the people, places, and things within our immediate environment that we can interact with, we can exchange information and communicate with. So with Saturn retrograding back into this area, it's actually by degree going to be retrograding over the area that it originally traversed in April, May of 2025. So something that was decided, something that was playing out, something that was amplifying around April, May 2025, for some of you, if that resonates, could be coming back around with a new perspective, a new way to improve it, perfect it, work with it, whatever it may be. This is important because Saturn is your ruling planet, and it also rules your second house of earned income and self-worth. So whatever revisiting takes place here, it could definitely involve finances, budget, financial plans, but also how is it most going to support your physical body, your individual needs, because Saturn is your ruling planet. So for some of you, this might be a time where you start to really review and revise what is going to really strengthen or improve your immediate surroundings that could help you financially and or physically, like in your body. So this is an opportunity to improve not only yourself with Saturn ruling you, but could also be a time where you look at finances, self-worth, the immediate surroundings, the people, places, and things you really want to surround yourself with that's not only going to support you financially, but also physically in your body before Saturn leaves this area for roughly the next 30 years. So I look at this as an opportunity to perfect and improve those themes before Saturn leaves the area of Pisces for good for quite a while. Then we get to September 7th. And September 7th is the first of the two eclipses and that take place this month. And the first is this full moon Pisces eclipse. If you're watching, it says 16, but it's actually at 15 degrees. I just don't want to change the hour marker of Capricorn here for you. So this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces at 15 degrees is also culminating, illuminating something very strongly in this third house of communication. Again, those people, places, and things within your immediate environment, your daily environment, exchanging information, communication. So something is being illuminated here that could also be playing into this ninth house of sort of the higher mind, the higher education, publishing, teaching, traveling, especially if those themes are related to what you do in the world. The ruler of this eclipse is Jupiter, and Jupiter is now in its place of exaltation. So the last eclipse that took place in Pisces, I believe in September of 2024, Jupiter, the ruler of that eclipse, like this one, was in detriment. So the ruler of this eclipse this time being exalted, I think, is highly supportive and potentially providing resources, considering it's in a trine configuration, which can dissolve obstacles to this north node in this third house area. So a lot could be culminating around communication, whether that's personal or professional, what you do, as well as technology, your neighborhood, your community, short distance travel, anything along those lines. Again, people, places, and things within your immediate environment that you interact with personally or even professionally for some of you. that this Jupiter could be providing resources to dissolve the obstacles around something that you desire, something that you want to create, something that you are hungry for in this area that could also be playing into this ninth house regarding education, publishing, teaching, traveling, spirituality, really anything that you consider growth and potential in your life. As we get to September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi in your Virgo ninth house. So again, tying in those growth and potential themes. A Mercury Cassimi is when Mercury's in the heart of the sun. And this is when most people report that there's a couple hours in the day, again on September 13th, where we can just sort of get this grounded sense of clarity, this insight. And with it being in this ninth house, it's interesting because a lot of you could gain that clarity and insight around the growth and potential, the teaching, the publishing, the higher knowledge, the spirituality, the travel. That Mercury, also ruling your sixth house of daily work and health routines, could shower down on. So for example, maybe there is higher knowledge, or there's something that you're gaining insight or clarity on through knowledge, teaching, writing, that could be playing into this sixth house of work. So it could be work related for some of you, or it could provide the clarity or insight into your health. So it could be both, it could be either or, but this to me looks opportunistic for some of you. Could be work again, but some growth and potential that could be some insight or clarity for your work or your health or both. And then we get to September 17th. Excuse me. And this is when that Mercury starts to separate, has separated from that Cassimi and starts to apply to an opposition with this Saturn down here that just backed up into this Pisces third house. So maybe there was clarity, maybe there was insight, and now you're trying to balance it with Saturn and Saturn's responsibility, duties, work, discipline around these third house themes. So there could be something going on with appointments or mundane tasks, or maybe it's exchanging information or communication regarding something you're doing personally, again, or professionally, where Saturn's, coming back to this area to improve, to strengthen, to perfect, to say, hey, remember this, we got to take care of this. But you could also be trying to balance that with maybe travel or spirituality or continuing your education, or maybe you're a writer or a teacher. Any of those themes or any growth and potential themes that you're trying to balance around this time could definitely require sort of that Saturnian responsibility in your immediate everyday environment. Then we get to September 21st, where this new moon solar eclipse happens at the anaretic degree, again, in this Virgo ninth house of growth and potential. This adds a sense of urgency because it is at the last degree of Virgo, that anaretic degree. So I think the insight and the clarity might build in urgency throughout this month. But again, this new moon solar eclipse, where there's maybe a new opportunity or a new chapter around teaching, publishing, higher knowledge, spirituality, travel. For some of you, it could be career related. And that is still in opposition to this Saturn down here in this third house of your immediate environment. So there could be sort of this tug of war going on between, I want to continue my education, I want to feed my higher mind, maybe I want to travel, maybe there's publishing, teaching, this insight, this clarity around this growth and potential thing that I desire or I want to initiate and start. But there could just be this responsibility or this discipline or this focus to your immediate everyday life. So for example, some of you might really be balancing the appointments and the task and the paperwork and the phone calls with, I really need to initiate this chapter around this growth and potential. And it could just be this temporary tug of war where Saturn is still finishing its story in this Pisces third house, where it's saying, hey, where can we really get clear and improve the everyday environment that might require some focus and some responsibility and some discipline to finish up those mundane tasks, to finish up those appointments, those phone calls, the paperwork, to not only improve things for yourself physically, but also financially, so that you can step into this new chapter that maybe some of you are really wanting to initiate around the growth and potential themes. The following day, Mars enters your Scorpio 11th house. So September 22nd, Mars enters its place of rulership, which is good. I like a Mars in Scorpio because a Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. Where most people wouldn't know what to do or figure out the plan of action, a Mars in Scorpio can figure it out. It sits with it. It finds a way. And Mars rules your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate as well. So if there is sort of this tug of war between your immediate environment, maybe family, something going on with home, family, property, or real estate, this Mars in Scorpio could help some of you get really precise and really accurate on the desire, the motivation, and the plan of action that could help balance this opposition with Saturn that you are coming off of and the eclipses, but also get very precise and accurate around your long-term goals, your dreams, your aspirations, the people that you want to surround yourselves with that are going to align with the dreams, the goals, the aspirations. And that might play into a home, family, property, or real estate situation. So some of you might also be trying to figure out a plan of action around something that's happened at home, a living situation, property or real estate situation, that you are going to find and figure out a way to initiate the foundation that supports the long-term goals or the social network that's also tying into maybe this new chapter around growth and potential, but simultaneously having to take care of those daily immediate responsibilities. Hello, Aquarius Risings. On September 1st, Saturn retrogrades back into your Pisces 2nd house of earned income and self-worth. So Saturn's really wrapping up the story here. And once Saturn officially leaves your Pisces 2nd house of earned income and self-worth in February of 2026, it won't return here for roughly another 30 years. So we're really closing out this story, but more specifically, Saturn is retrograding back over the degrees that it originally traversed in roughly April, May of 2025. So Saturn could be bringing you back to the situation that played out in April, May, or maybe there's similar themes to that situation, where now you have a different perspective. You have maybe more wisdom, or you have the desire to perfect it, improve it, and strengthen it. And this could really show up financially or in your self-worth, and really getting anchored and grounded in your self-worth long term, right? Saturn is a planet of longevity, likes time. And so Saturn retrograding into this area is really wrapping up the opportunity to strengthen, improve your perspective, your outlook, on finances, on your self-worth, your value. And then we get to the first eclipse this month. There will be 2, they usually come in pairs. And so September 7th, we have a full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees. If you're watching, this says 17, but I'm not going to change the hour marker because I wanted to stay on Aquarius. And this full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees is a very strong illumination or culmination around your finances, your perspective on finances. What is yours? Your innate gifts, things that are innately yours, your self-esteem, your value. So this full moon could really illuminate your gifts, your talents, new perspectives on money, your idea of money, your relationship with money, also your relationship with your self-worth. And Saturn, coincidentally, has come back to this area during this eclipse season to say, whatever gets illuminated, whatever sort of you want to release or culminate that's no longer serving you financially or no longer serving your self-worth, Saturn's there to say, let's implement it. Let's integrate it and strengthen it and stick with it for the long term. Then on September 13th, we have a Mercury Cassimi. I believe the Mercury Cassimi is actually at 20 degrees, but again, I'm not going to change the hour marker. And this Mercury Cassimi, Mercury is in the heart of the sun. It is within 17 minutes. You can't see this here, but it is, this Mercury Cassimi is in the heart of the sun. It is usually, most people report a couple hours during the day, again on September 13th, where you could get just clarity. It's just grounded clarity, insight. And this is happening in your 8th house of transformation, of long-term financial management, a partner's resources, if applicable. So I think the eclipses, this Mercury Cassimi, they're all happening in financial houses, but they're also happening between your self-worth and transformational work. So it could be either or it could be both. And on September 13th, you could get some insight, some clarity around your fears, around, transformational work, or it could show up financially. You could get some insight or clarity around long-term financial management, maybe investments, assets, resources, a partner's resources that could be playing into sort of these financial themes, or again, that transformational work, releasing, any fears through that insight or clarity that could be coming up for some of you around that time. What's really interesting about this is that Mercury also rules your 5th house of joy. So whatever you are getting clarity or insight on, it could directly influence and affect your ability to maybe step into more joy. Or maybe you're getting more insight and clarity around either transformational work, your self-worth, or getting clear on your perspective about finances and how that's impacted your ability to feel joy, to feel pleasure in your life. Or some of you might literally be combining the both and saying, how can I invest? How can I save? What budget is going to not only set me up for success long term, but also allow me more wiggle room to incorporate more creativity, more self-expression, more joy? And if children are applicable to you, with Mercury also ruling this 5th house, children land in the 5th house. So it could have maybe conversations, insight, clarity around your children, around the situation with your children that could provide the ability to step into the new moon eclipse coming on the 21st, which I will get to in a moment, where you can initiate a new chapter around something regarding that. But first, I want to talk about September 17th, when this Mercury initially opposes this Saturn. So whatever insight, clarity, whatever's coming up around this time, the Mercury opposite Saturn in your 2nd and 8th house is interesting because whatever insight and clarity comes up whatever you're communicating regarding finances or transformational work. It's opposite Saturn here, and this Saturn is basically saying, don't forget about your self-worth. Don't forget about your new perspectives around money, finances, budget, material possessions, whatever it may be. And so this Saturn here is saying, well, slow down, Mercury. I understand we need some time to integrate this new insight or this clarity, or converse about it a little bit more so that we can really instill and improve and perfect and really make sure that when Saturn leaves the second house, you're really grounded in this new perspective around finances and money and prosperity and your self-worth. Then we get to the new moon solar eclipse at 29 degrees. The anaretic degree, the last degree, which can add a sense of urgency. So I think for a lot of us, we could be feeling a sense of urgency building with these eclipses because of the degree that it's happening at. And this new moon solar eclipse comes along and basically says, let me get this to the hour marker here. Oops, wrong way. So this new moon solar eclipse, for you, Aquarius Rising, what new chapter, new opportunity do you want to step into transformationally, financially? Where are you maybe releasing old, outdated fears that have affected your finances or have affected your self-worth? That now you really maybe want to step into this new chapter or new opportunity financially, transformationally. But if you notice, this new moon solar eclipse is opposite Saturn. So Saturn's, in my opinion, a little bit of like the thorn in the side where we're sort of ready to go. We're ready to initiate this new chapter. And Saturn's opposing it, saying, but don't forget about your responsibilities. Don't forget about everything you've learned over the past 2.5 years about your self-worth, about your value, and finances, your perspective on finances, on currency. So the opposition can sometimes feel like we want to open the front door and the back door of our home at the same time. And that can be frustrating. It can sort of send us spiraling. And so with the eclipse happening here, it's sort of saying, hey, let's go to the front door first, open that door, initiate that new chapter with this new sense of transformation. Maybe you're making a big decision that you're not going to go back on. Maybe this is a decision that involves a long-term financial plan or partner's resources. That's really important. Open that door, start that new chapter in that opportunity, and then pause and then go to the back door where Saturn is and look in the backyard and say, okay, but we still have this backyard. We still have to take care of it and mend it and do some last minute improvements or strengthening so that it's good to go. And I think that is the hard part about the opposition, is you might feel like you really want to initiate this new chapter, and Saturn's going to be constantly ringing the back doorbell saying, hey, don't forget about everything you've learned about finances, energy, your innate talents and gifts, what you consider yours, what is innately yours, and most importantly, your self-worth. What I think is going to help is the following day when Mars enters your Scorpio 10th house of career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment. And the reason why I think this is going to help during eclipse season, where things get, shaken up, things kind of culminate, shift, change, and begin. The Mars in Scorpio is very precise. It's very accurate. Mars is in rulership in Scorpio, so it's very well resourced. It has the tools it needs to do the Mars things. It has the tools it needs to take action, to go with the desire, to go with the motivation. And I think this could help wherever you feel like you need to find the way. figure out that plan of action and the desire and the motivation given what's changed or initiated. The Mars in Scorpio, I think, is going to help you really get precise and accurate around the things that bring you fulfillment, whether that's personal or professional. Hello, Pisces Risings. On September 1st, Saturn retrogrades back into your Pisces first house of the self, the physical body, you, how you want to show up in the world. And so Saturn retrograding back into this area could bring things back around that you maybe want to strengthen, improve regarding you. But more specifically, Saturn rules your 11th house of your social network, your long-term goals, and also your 12th house of your subconscious thought patterns, inner life vision, solitude, sleep. So some of you might get this last opportunity as Saturn is wrapping up its story in Pisces through February of 2026 and won't come back to this area for roughly 30 years. So this is really Saturn's last stretch in this area to say, hey, what last minute strengthening, improvements do you want to make to yourself and how you want to show up in the world, the people you want to surround yourself with, any long-term goals that support your individual needs, your physical body, but also your mental health, your subconscious thought patterns, and your need for maybe more sleep or more solitude that can help strengthen the physical body with Saturn here. But a little bit more specifically, Saturn by degree will be retrograding over the degrees that it originally traversed in roughly April, May of 2025. So some of you might be revisiting a specific situation that amplified or played out in April, May of 2025, where this time around, you've already had time to work with it, and now you maybe get the opportunity to perfect it, improve it, strengthen it. September 7th is that first eclipse. We get 2 eclipses this month. And on September 7th, there will be a full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees. So if you're watching, this moon says 18 degrees, but it's actually at 15 degrees because I'm not changing the hour marker. I want to keep it on Pisces Rising, obviously. So this full moon lunar eclipse is at 15 degrees. It is a massive illumination. It's spotlight, something culminating around you. So this could be an amazing time for you to release anything that's no longer serving your physical body, your identity, how you want to show up in the world. Some of you might quite literally find yourself in the spotlight. Some of you might find yourself more visible to people. And this could really just be an amplification of that. Now, the last Pisces eclipse that we had, I believe, was back in September of 2024. But the ruler of that eclipse, just like the ruler of this eclipse, is Jupiter. And back in September of 2024, that ruler was in detriment. This time, it's exalted in your 5th house of joy. So this could be an amazing time to focus on yourself, focus on, releasing anything, closing out anything that's really not serving you, how you want to show up in the world, your physical body. But most importantly, because that ruler is in its place of exaltation, very well resourced in that 5th house of joy, it could be a great time to start feeling more joy and more pleasure and more creativity in yourself, and in a way where it's really supporting your appearance, your style, how you want to feel in your body. Jupiter is also trine that north node in your 1st house of self. So Jupiter has a lot to give in Cancer, has a lot of resources and support. And the trine configuration is sort of saying, hey, here's some support, here's some resources from your joy, from children, if applicable, or your creativity, your self-expression, that could really help dissolve any obstacles that could be getting in the way of focusing on you, your physical body, how you want to feel in your body. And Saturn coincidentally just came back into this house to say, whatever comes up that you want to release and then you want to instill and integrate, Saturn's there to say, let's integrate this long term. Let's make this a long-term reality for you. Then on September 13th, we have the Mercury Cassimi. So let me get this back to Pisces Rising here. So we have a Mercury Cassimi. So Mercury is in the heart of the sun in your 7th house of partnerships. This could be personal partnerships or professional partnerships. This could bring insight or clarity within a personal or professional partnership. But I think what's amazing about this Cassimi is that Mercury is not only in rulership, it is exalted. So this is also a very strong Mercury here. So whatever insight or clarity comes through your partnerships, it could be very strong. It's very well resourced. So it could come on strongly as well. Mercury also rules your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. So this could also provide additional insights or clarity to property and real estate situations playing out, home and family relationships playing out as well. So definitely this Mercury Cassimi, I think, could potentially be setting the stage for the next eclipse on the 21st, which I'll get to in a moment. But after this Cassimi, after this moment of clarity or insight that comes through partnerships or a family situation or a property real estate situation, Mercury continues on, and around September 17th, 16th, 17th, that Mercury will be in opposition to Saturn in your 1st. So whatever insight, clarity, communication that comes up within maybe partnerships or family relationships, property, real estate themes that you get, it could create some sort of tension or need of balance between Saturn pulling you back to you, pulling you back to, well, let's not forget about you. Let's not forget about your own individual responsibilities that you want to set in place, that, you want to integrate and improve or strengthen upon. So this opposition can feel sort of like maybe something's playing out with home, family, property, real estate, or something's playing out within a partnership that's testing your ability to not forget about yourself, not forget about your own individual needs, your physical body, your health, your appearance, all of that. Then when we get to September 21st, that is the next eclipse. So we have this new moon solar eclipse at the anaretic degree at 29 degrees. Last degree of intensity, that sense of urgency in your 7th house of partnership, again, personal or professional. So some new chapter or opportunity could be playing out within personal and or professional partnerships that you want to initiate. It could be really wanting to initiate over the next 5 or 6 months. Because this is an eclipse, it could come on suddenly, it could happen in erratic ways. But regardless, whatever new chapter within partnerships or a new partnership, or could be professional partnerships that you're really weighing into the picture here throughout September, you'll notice if you're watching, it's still opposite Saturn in your 1st. So I feel for Pisces risings throughout September, it's things are happening with maybe personal or professional partnerships, home, family, property, real estate situations playing out. And it seems like a lot of it is opportunity for insight, opportunity for change, but it's really testing your ability to not forget about yourselves, not forget about your individual needs, how you want to feel in the world, how you want to show up in the world. And so Saturn has, again, coincidentally, come back for eclipse season here to, I think, remind all of us all of the things that we've gone through the past 2.5 years, and how for you, Pisces, it's really tested you individually. It's tested your physical body. It's tested, getting really clear and foundationally clear around your needs, your identity, who you really are, and what you need for that, and how surrounding yourself with the right people, clearing out any subconscious thought patterns or limiting beliefs, and really aligning that identity and who you really are and those needs with those long-term goals, right? Saturn's really tested those areas the past couple years. And I think these eclipses are shaking up you versus your partnerships, personal or professional. But Saturn's come back just in time to say, don't forget about how much you've worked on, evolved, improved, and strengthened yourselves over the past 2.5 years. And don't forget to integrate that in the larger picture of your life. The following day, so the next day, Mars enters your Scorpio 9th house of growth and potential. So if you're feeling the test and challenge, you're feeling that kind of pulled in both directions throughout September with that opposition, Mars in Scorpio, I think, is really going to help all of us. But for you, I think it's going to help a lot of Pisces risings get really precise and accurate around the growth and potential you want to take, the plan of action, the core desires and motivations, and getting precise and accurate around the plan of action that you want to take around that growth and potential that not only integrates more joy in your life, but also fully supports and dissolves any obstacles to stepping into who you really want to be, the work that you really want to do, the growth and potential you want to seek. So if you're feeling the opposition, I would say lean into this Mars in Scorpio, because this Mars in Scorpio is in rulership. And a Mars in Scorpio is really good at figuring out a way or a plan when most people feel it's not doable or it's not feasible. A Mars in Scorpio is really good at figuring out the way, finding out the way to make it happen. Mars in Scorpio is like the dream maker, not a dream taker. It's gonna find a way. And Mars rules your second house of earned income and self-worth. So some of you could really be getting clear on who you really want to be, the work that you really want to do, your goals, but in a way where it's a very Saturnian, grounded, long-term feel for you. And the Mars in Scorpio, after this eclipse season, a lot of you could start to shift into looking at your finances, looking at your self-worth, and how that might help get to the bottom of or find the way, figure out the way to make it happen after whatever shifted this month. So I think this could be a wonderful time for Pisces to not forget about yourself, not forget about everything that you've gone through in the past 2.5 years, and how this, the next few months, really through February of 2026, could be a really wonderful opportunity, that last minute opportunity to solidify who you want to be, how you want to show up in the world, and to not forget about your creativity, your self-expression, and your joy in that larger picture, in the grand scheme of your long-term goals.